Welcome. We're playing D&D. Technically, I guess technically, yeah. It's Dark Souls the RPG, which is built on D&D 5th edition. So like we're kind of playing D&D, like sort of. What? Handy. Yeah, pretty much. And fun fact: the only reason that this system can exist is because of this page of the book, which reproduces the OGL 1.0a. Because they copy. Fuck you, wizards. Anyway, that's my daily rant. I have to do it at least once a stream. At least once a stream. I do have a floof. There is a floof. Hello, floof. Hi. We're playing Dark Souls the RPG. Today is session 0, so we're gonna figure out how the fuck we're playing this game. But first, I'm gonna give the dog a treat though. Because she is thanks Mike. And thanks Stardust Screamer, no longer singer, now a screamer. For the resub. Hello, it's the Fluffin, and we got a cheer spell for fuck you Mike. I can't tell if that's a cheer for anyone other than Mike or if that's a cheer for Mike. I'm not entirely sure. Hello, it's the Fluffin. Nice toot. I'm proud of you. Okay, Dion. Good job. Yeah, thanks for farting. So Dark Souls. How about we just like, how much have you guys read about Dark Souls the RPG? Like I distributed the PDF of the book. Have you guys like read it? How much do I need to explain? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, position is definitely the biggest change to 5e that this system made. So I just oh no, they can't. Shit. Because you're on the wrong headphones. Stream is listening to the wrong headphone. Now Stream can hear you.
Whoopsie doodle.
Whoopsie doodle.
That's too bad.
It's fine. You guys didn't talk a whole lot yet, so
we revealed all the lore.
It's true, you did. So go ahead and just repeat everything you said. I have to adjust my microphone because it's on all around, and I'm sure my audio quality is awful compared to how good it could be.
There's something about Bayless pooping, right?
Yeah, usually.
Usually, yeah. That's how we start these streams typically.
I shitted.
Position is a thing. That's different.
Yeah.
Like the position of a microphone.
Like the position of a microphone in front
Boom
of a
in the
camera.
shot. Boom in the shot.
I was gonna say just for us.
That's all.
I'm just gonna put my microphone like right here. Is that cool?
Yeah, and hilariously, Stream could not hear me until just now. Yeah, we're having all kinds of audio fun today.
Don't you have a
yeah.
producer? Where is she? What's she doing?
What's that?
Don't you have a producer? What's she doing?
She's upstairs. She's not
Wow.
producing because she's busy watching movies. So
I hope somebody gets fired for that blunder.
what?
I hope somebody gets fired for that blunder.
Okay, so I wrote out essentially a spark notes of all the rules changes from 5th edition to Dark Souls the RPG. So I'll just sort of go through them one by one and then expand upon them as necessary. So the first one is that races and classes are replaced with origins and custom classes. There are, I think, 10 classes in the book. They are ever so frustratingly not alphabetized. They're probably alphabetized in Japanese, if I had to guess, because I think they're in the book in the order that they show up in the video game, which was probably alphabetized or whatever. Like it's.
But this was this TTRPG was American made.
It was
Europe or English made.
Yeah, it's UK, I think.
Okay.
They're UK based, but they're native English speakers, and they didn't
What?
bother.
Yeah, sorry.
Does the Japanese language even have alphabetization?
I have
Because they
no
don't have a proper like a
fucking
Latin
clue.
alphabet.
I have no idea. Not a clue. But yeah, so instead of picking a race, you will pick an origin, which has the added effect of choosing your ability scores for you.
Cool.
Nice and
And
easy.
so there are 4 different origins. 3 of them have a 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 10 array. And then one of them has a 13, 13, 13, 12, 12, 12 array. None of those are great, but the interesting thing is that the 15 down array is a 29 point buy array, and the 13s and 12s is a 27 point buy array. So I think if anyone picks the 13-12 array, I might just say you get 13s across the board. And then the other thing is that this game is ostensibly 5th edition, so you should be getting like a racial ability score bonus, typically +2 and a +1. And this book doesn't give those to you at all in any capacity. So you end up being wildly underpowered at level 1 and, you know, for the rest of your career because of that. So I think I might just give everyone a free +2 and +1.
Most of the origins bloody effect gives abilities.
That is
Temporarily,
true.
of course. Temporarily, of course, but
that is true. That is true. The Fencer gives +2 Dex, Jack of all trades gets +2 Wiz, Caster gets +2 Int and Charisma, and the Brute just gets +3 AC. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't need stats, just needs armor.
Yeah, they also get advantage on strength-related checks and saves, which is, you know, something that you get with like Barbarian Rage, which is hilarious because there's
Barbarian?
because there's a warrior, which is basically a barbarian. At level 1, they
Yeah.
get Cinder Wrath, which is basically rage, which gives advantage on strength checks and strength saves. So it's like, don't pick Brute if you go warrior because there's anti-synergy. I'm gonna say this right now, and I'm probably gonna say it a lot, and I think I might ask one of the mods to make a counter for it. I think this book might suck. But there also might be things this book does right. So it'd be great if we could get a counter for things the book does wrong and a counter for things the book does right.
If I can offer a counterpoint to your book does suck.
Sure.
The second or very much first page of the book
Yeah.
is the "You Died" screen.
That is true.
And that's kind of just chef's kiss right
Yeah, that's kind of dope.
Mhm.
there. Like, I kind of got to give him super goddamn props on that.
Gotta give him props on that. So this is made by the same people who made the Dark Souls board game, and I had a giggle fit when I first opened the Dark Souls board game box because at the very top of the box is just a sheet of paper that says "You died," and I was like, I can't be mad at that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Do I close the box up and pick another one? Did I get the wrong one? Like,
Right. Was this a mimic?
What way was the chain going, Ian?
I was going back. I thought I was going back.
No.
Oh no. So yes, origins are weird. They don't give ability score bonuses because they replace your race, but then also apply starting ability scores, which is typically separate from your race. So I think on top of the starting array, I will say you get a +2 and a +1, and then Jack of all trades in order to make it equivalent to the others in terms of point buy. It'll be 13s across the board. So I'm already making changes to what is already homebrew. It's great.
nice.
It's fine. I definitely don't understand 5th edition better than the people who wrote this game. Definitely don't.
But do you understand this game better than them?
Probably. But you know, remains to be seen. So so the next change that is probably the biggest change that they made, which is that you do not have hit points. Instead, you have position. So the way position works is when you're in combat, you will essentially have the same max position as a normal character would have maximum hit points. The difference is between combats, you lose most of that. Hey, we got a cheer from Will of the Whiskey. Is it from? Yeah, it's for Matt. I'm not surprised. So the thing that happens is that you have what's called base position, which is your level times your con mod plus some chunk dependent on which origin you pick. So caster gets 6, jack of all trades and fencer get 8, brute gets 10. And then on top of that, you get 1. They decided to separate out 1. And then also your con mod times your level. That's your base position. When you enter combat, you essentially roll what functions as hit dice to temporarily increase your max position for the purposes of that combat. So a level 1 brute knight will have, let's just say he sticks with his +2 con, he'll have 13 base position. And then when he goes into combat, he rolls a d10 and increases his position by the result of that die, let's say 6. So he has 19 position starting that fight. When the fight ends, he goes back down to 13 unless he's already below 13. So a chunk of your hit points are constantly like temporary hit points. And the reason for that is that they now represent more than just meat points. They also represent your stamina, because you can spend position to push your limits. The most common ways to spend position is when you make an attack roll. You can spend position on a 1-to-1 basis to increase the result. When you make a damage roll, you can spend position on a 1-to-1 basis to increase your damage. But it has to be a minimum of 5 for some reason. Like, you can't just say, I want to increase my damage by 3. It has to be 5 or more. Not entirely sure why they decided to do that. I guess we'll find out maybe eventually. And then the other way is to spend position, essentially to sprint. You can increase your move speed by 5 feet per position. So you could just spend 12 position and gain 60 foot speed, I guess. Which seems like that would be a huge expenditure at level 1. But, you know, level 5, level 8, like eventually 12 position, spending 12 positions, not a huge deal. And then at any time if you are below half of your maximum position, whether that's your base or combat temporarily increased maximum, if you're below half, you are considered bloodied. Some monsters care about whether you're bloodied. Some monsters care about whether they're bloodied. Your origin gives you an ability that triggers while you are bloodied. So bloodied is a condition, like actually codified into the system. They took it out of 4th edition and they put it in Dark Souls. It's fine. So that's position basically. One of the cool things about position and the way that, you know, a lot of your HP is temporary HP is that you can end up going into a fight, taking a few hits, and then leaving that fight unscathed because you're still at max position out of your base chunk. So I think that's kind of neat. It basically means that I never have to worry about like whittling down your resources, like getting you to spend hit dice, etc., because you spend hit dice automatically at the start of every combat to get your max HP up. Sort of. It's kind of how I'm understanding it. So
if you start a combat
uh-huh.
and you're already below max, you're already damaged, does the temporary position you get from starting the combat, if you end above your base max, are you then healed, or do you go back to that lowered amount?
I think you would be. Yeah, like I think going into combat would be a way to heal yourself in that regard, but that would require you finding a combat that you're confident about getting out of unscathed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, as written, I think that works.
Well, it depends on the difference between the temporary position and your base position, which will grow as the game goes on.
Right, yeah. So at level 1, you get this, you know, this influx of position for a brute that's just have 10. You don't get that ever again. So your base position goes up very slowly. It only goes up by con mod each level, whereas your temporary position goes up by your hit die every level. So if you're the jack of all trades, for instance, with a +1 con, your base position is going up by 1 every level, but the temporary position goes up by D8, which is guaranteed to be at least 1 per level. So at level 1, you might have, actually, a level 1 jack of all trades would have 10 base position and 1 D8 temporary, but a level 5 jack of all trades has 14 base position and then 5d8 temporary. So at some point, the temporary outstrips the base position. It makes it a lot easier to, yes, heal yourself by going into a combat. But it also kind of makes it irrelevant to heal yourself, because if I'm at 10 out of 14, who gives a shit? That's only 4 out of my average of 40 max HP.
And then also there are chimes, so this whole
Also,
discussion is
there are chimes, yes. There are items that I'm assuming the Cleric starts with a chime, and if you're out of combat, so a chime allows you to spend 4 position to restore 10 position to 3 friendly creatures within 5 feet of you. It's like, so yeah, like my understanding is that you might actually just go back to your base position after combat.
No,
or
it
does it
specifically says you do not do that.
you don't do
yeah.
that if you're below?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's you go whether after combat you go to your current position or your base, whatever's lower.
Interesting. So the only time that that's going to matter is for scenarios where, well, I mean, chimes and whatnot too, but the main scenario where that's going to matter is when there are things that can damage you without triggering combat, like traps. Traps don't care about your stamina, so temporary position doesn't exist. Traps care about your meat points, so that comes off your base position. You roll a dex save, because that's how 5th edition works. If you fail that dex save, that arrow hits you in the fucking forehead. And if it does 20 damage and your max base position is 12, you're fucking dead.
Yeah, casters are screwed out of combat.
Yeah, casters are boned.
Also with, I guess, the temporary position, are we going to be rolling each combat or just taking the average?
You would be rolling every combat. Yeah. So that sort of simulates the it just simulates like, oh, I wasn't very like ready. I twisted my ankle a few minutes ago. I'm not feeling great for this fight. I'm not ready to deal with all this for whatever reason. So yeah, we're gonna roll. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about like the fiction of rolling, but that's the mechanics. I'm trying to modify the mechanics of the RPG as little as possible off the bat, and then we can change shit as we go if we need to, which I'm pretty sure we're going to need to. So that's position. And any other questions or comments on that?
I know in there it says you can only spend position on 1 action per turn.
Yes, you can only spend it once per turn.
Is that also for like weapons or items that you can spend position to activate an ability?
Yeah, I think the intent is you can only spend it once per turn. But then there's technically no limit on how much you can spend at a time. So if you have 40 position and you hit the boss and you really want to Hail Mary and spend 39 position adding damage to it, sure. Just hope it dies.
Yeah, it's that backstab damage.
Yeah. I think it's more like, oh, I got greedy. I spent all of my stamina just swinging at its butt, and now it's attacking me, and my stamina's negative. I die.
Fine.
What was that?
It's probably fine.
It's probably fine.
Never
Yeah,
happened
you just
before.
bonus action and take an Estus flask. It's fine.
That's true. You can do that. Yeah, I guess. So the interesting thing is Estus Flask heals you for half of your base position. So that level 1 Jack of all trades just gets 5. And that level 5 Jack of all trades gets 7.
that forever caster gets 3.
Yeah,
That, oh man.
until they increase their con.
Sure, but still, fuck.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, yeah, definitely increase your con, especially if you're picking caster. Just do me a favor and bump your con. So that's position. Experience points. This is probably the first rule where I looked at what they wrote and thought, wow, they did not read how 5th edition works at all.
I just had one more comment about position.
Sure.
I feel like very quickly we're going to run into a scenario where, wait, maybe we should do temporary position for like traps
For
or
traps
whatever.
and stuff. Yeah,
Because like fuck, I'm just saying it's almost certainly going to come up. And
I mean,
we're
probably
going to be like, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So my understanding of the rules is basically that your base position is your meat points. That is your actually taking damage position, and then everything else is your stamina. So from that perspective, I don't think that you're supposed to roll temporary position for traps, because traps deal damage to meat points. And then I would just imagine that traps kind of don't scale very hard. Like in D&D, if you're level 8, traps that matter should be dealing 5d10 damage minimum, because I've got 50 fucking hit points. But in Dark Souls, you're going to have like 18 max HP, or 18 base position, so maybe instead of doing 8 damage, they do 12. You know what I mean? Like, they're just going to scale way slower, would be my expectation. Like, traps would be designed not to do nearly as much damage as monsters.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like I said this already, but I will say it again. This is a work in progress. The book is a work in progress.
The fully finished book.
The fully finished definitely got reamed in Europe and had to spend 4 months rewriting and reprinting. Is a work in progress. Yes, I don't think these rules are perfect. I don't even think they're great. They might be good. So we are going to work together as necessary to fix them.
Make Dark Souls great again.
Please don't. Just please. That's also a terrible acronym.
This is good. Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Matt.
Also, with that, I know looking at some of the items, if there's items that are going to help make the traps more survivable, like I know the Mercenary starts with their armor, which makes it to where they can never have disadvantage on dex saves, I think it was.
Cool.
So I don't know if there's items where it's like, oh, you just always have advantage against a trap or something like that.
That's kind of fucking dope. Whenever wearing sellsword armor, you can never be at disadvantage on a dex save. Cool. I didn't even look at the starting kits. I just don't even know what people start with. I kind of just left that to you guys. Like this is your job. So yeah, I would imagine that there's probably more items that help you against traps. There's also, I already identified a bunch of items where I'm just like, that is not a faithful recreation of what that item does in the video game, and I already know how to make it more faithful. So bad.
Nice.
Like the covetous silver serpent ring, which says gain plus 10 souls whenever you earn souls. Why would you not just give 10%?
What?
You know, like the video game do.
That's awful. What?
Plus 10. What? What? Yeah, so there's probably going to be a lot of things that I just ignore or change, and but I am inviting you, not just letting you know that I'm listening, but I am inviting you to bring suggestions for improvement to the table, or to me privately, and we'll try to make this game better for everyone.
Gotta start building an errata document.
Honestly, probably. Probably. So, next topic. Experience points. As written in the book, in order to get to level 2, you have to gain 300 banked souls, which you do by gaining souls, sitting at a bonfire, and then banking them. Different from the video games is that you can bank half of a level. Go die, and you don't lose anything. Whereas in the video games, if you don't have enough to buy an entire level, go fuck yourself. Go get enough to buy another level because you're holding on to them. They're soft. You die, you lose them. Get fucked, idiot. But the weird thing is that the book also claims that to get from level 2 to level 3, you need an additional 900. Which is not how it works in D&D. You need to get from 300 to 900 for a difference of 600. Your XP to next level is 600. So I'm throwing out that shit they wrote, and we're using the same normal XP table that D&D has. And in fact, I'm even going to call it experience points, just so that we can put it on our character sheet in the experience points place. And basically, what happens is at a bonfire, you can buy experience points by spending souls at a 1-to-1 ratio. It's that simple. When you hit 300 XP, because you've bought 300 XP using 300 souls, you hit level 2. When you hit 900, you hit level 3. When you hit 2700, you hit level 4. When you hit 6500, you hit level 5. I don't remember how much you need for level 6.
Are there feats?
Are there feats? That's a fantastic question. This book does not have feats. Technically, feats are a variant rule in D&D.
Really?
Yes, feats are a variant rule in D&D 5e. And as such, they are not part of the SRD. And as such, you actually can't write them using OGL.
Isn't there one feat that's SRD? Grappler or Tavern Brawler? One of the bad ones.
Oh, really?
I think so. Well,
then I am mistaken. My guess is that Steamforged didn't know that. I'm gonna say I don't think Steamforged. I don't think anyone at Steamforged has ever played D&D 5e before. I think that's a thing that's true. Steamforged, feel free to reach out to me and tell me I'm wrong, and I'll stop saying it on my stream.
Pretty ballsy to make a book about it if they never did.
Yeah, but then, Bandai Namco says, hey, can you make a Dark Souls RPG? And they go, sure. Does anyone know anything about writing RPGs? No.
What are the kids playing these days?
Yeah, and then someone in a boardroom's like, what's the most popular RPG? Can we just make a supplement for that? And then someone goes, hey, it's D&D. They had this OGL thing. I don't know. I don't want to conjecture as to their shit show because I could go on for hours about it, and I don't want to do that. I'd rather actually game. So that's XP. So the next thing is rests. So the first thing that's very obvious about rests is that long rests have to happen at a bonfire. It's not Dark Souls if you're not resting at a bonfire. It's just not. It's not Dark Souls unless you're resting at a bonfire. So long rests have to happen at a bonfire. The thing is, the book doesn't say anything about short rests, when you can take them. It seems to just suggest, and I'm trying to find where rests are. I can't find whatever. I don't care. It seems to just suggest that, hey, look, I found it. That you can take short rests wherever by sitting down for an hour. I have a hard time seeing a scenario where you guys get done with a fight and can't immediately sit down for an hour. Based on my understanding of the kind of campaign that we're likely to play, which is a topic that we definitely need to get to and talk about and agree upon, my tentative idea at this time is that short rests happen automatically at the end of every fight. So all of your short rest resources come back, whatever short rest resources you might have. They just recharge after every fight. The thing is, in the book, it also says at the end of a short rest, you restore position equal to half your base position. And I think I would get rid of that so as to preserve that loss of position that comes out of a fight. You want to get health back, you swig that fucking Estus. Or spam the
chimes.
chime. Yeah. I don't know. Chimes kind of break things because they're resourceless healing.
Out of combat, at least.
Out of combat. Resourceless out of combat healing. Yeah. I am at, like, there's heal spells, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The clear, there are heal miracles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Mike's playing a caster? A magic wielder?
What?
Yeah, I mean, so
Says who?
Yeah. The healing spells are not resourceless because you only have so many casts. But chimes just seem hilariously busted. Like, heal everyone to full for free. Okay. Sure. What chime does the cleric actually start with?
Cleric Sacred Chime.
Cleric Sacred Chime. Spend 1 position to restore 5 position to one friendly creature adjacent to you. That actually does mean you can't heal yourself. Because you are not adjacent to yourself.
Aren't you?
You are not adjacent to yourself.
You're within 5 feet of yourself, but you're not adjacent to yourself.
Yep.
That's...
Every other chime says either within 5 feet or within 10 feet. But that one says adjacent.
That's an infuriating distinction, and I hate it.
I'll learn how to clone yourself, stand beside yourself, and then heal that clone. And then kill yourself and live your life through the clone.
Yeah, actually, hilariously, I lied. D&D 5e doesn't have the term adjacent. It's always within 5 feet.
Take that, Jordan.
Going off of what this book says, it says adjacent. And we're using the rules as printed in this book.
Right.
Until we decide they're dumb and we change them.
Exactly. right. But yeah, you are not. I don't know. Whatever. If someone starts as a cleric, we will probably very quickly get upset at the cleric just healing everyone to full. Who knows?
You might get very upset at the cleric healing.
That's what I said. It was the royal we.
Royal, look how it was all high and mighty over there. Royal we.
The editorial we.
Yeah. So yeah, that's rests. I also can't imagine so the book actually says if you're sitting at a bonfire, you're invincible. Enemies can't hurt you, traps can't hurt you, nothing bad can happen to you. Everything's sunshine and daisies. So why can't you just fight for 5 minutes and then sit at the bonfire for 23 hours and 55 minutes if I try to enforce like you can only rest, once every day like D&D 5e has? And I think the answer is shut up. You rest at you sit down at the bonfire, you're healed. Like, it's not 8 hours of sitting at a bonfire. It's just you sit at a bonfire, you're healed. The world resets. Need sleep. Yeah, the dead don't need sleep. But yeah, that's, I don't know. I still have to figure out rests. I'm probably going to adjust it based on the kind of campaign that we run. Like, if we run like a campaign that has a lot of travel, well, number one, how the fuck do you travel with a bonfire? Or like, how do you rest at bonfires while traveling? That could be interesting. Maybe you have to, it's like a points of light kind of campaign where you need to get from place to place, and in between is just this terrifying darkness with no bonfires for you to rest at. Exactly. But instead of, fighting for 50 yards in the video games, you're fighting for 50 miles to get to the next bonfire. I don't know. I don't know what kind of game we want to play. Yet.
Well, on the topic of time spent for rests, the two main things to deal with rests is one, keeping yourself safe, which bonfires make you safe, and two, spending time. If you're spending 8 hours resting for 6 months, well, the bad guy just did the plan. But is that actually a problem?
So that is one of my concerns is, if we decide to run a campaign where there's an antagonist that has overarching goals that are moving, because that's a thing in TTRPGs, we could play a game like that. Then my idea is that sitting at a bonfire advances the clock by 1 day. It just skip to next morning. Like, you don't experience it. You don't have to sit there for 23 hours. It's tomorrow. Which is disorienting as hell, I'm sure. But
isn't that basically how the bonfires are supposed to work in the game? Like,
I have no idea. Time is
like
time is convoluted in Lordran.
Sure, time is convoluted, yeah, but like you sit at a bonfire, everything comes back. Is the idea like other hollow just wander in from some other fucking area and are there and filled up the area you just cleared out?
I think the idea is actually that you are transported to another universe where you didn't kill any of those things.
Dimensions are convoluted in Lordran. Fuck.
Yeah, there's an infinite multiverse or some shit, and that's why players are in their own different worlds and can be summoned into yours.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm. Infinite dimensions. All of whom are steady state, except for the fact that if you kill a boss, every dimension you travel to has that boss dead.
Infinite.
Yeah, I mean, there's an infinite number of universes where you've already killed the Taurus demon. Obviously. Anyway, so the next thing is probably my favorite change. It fixes what I think is the biggest problem in D&D 5th edition, which is yo-yoing. If you hit 0, you are dead. There are no death saves. There is no healing back from 0. There's no dying. There's no unconscious. If you hit 0 position, you are dead. I will put this handy-dandy thing over your face. Sorry, Nathan. You're just where it's positioned. It says you died. And you personally go back to the bonfire. And the rest of your party can come back and pick you up. Or you can wander off into the darkness to find them. They have rules about a player rejoining the combat that they died in, and basically what happens is all of the enemies are reset to full HP and you're not. And I don't know how I feel about that, but like it's kind of interesting, I guess.
But like, unless we're fighting right outside of the bonfire, like, can they even make it? Like,
well, presumably, no matter where you are, you will have fought your way there. I mean, you could run away from things and hope they leash, hope they don't follow you. But, presumably you fought your way there, so you've forged a safe path from where the bonfire is to where they died. So, in theory, yeah.
Sure, okay.
But also, if you guys have been traveling for 5 days through the wilderness and then someone dies...
Right, that's a scenario I'm thinking of.
Yeah. They have to travel for 5 days, I guess?
I guess.
Or, you both travel for 2.5 days, you meet up, and you go, do we want to go back that way, or do we want to go different?
Are we starting with the ring that lets us travel between bonfires, or no?
I don't know. That'll probably depend. That is a thought that I have had. That is definitely something that I've put a decent amount of thought into. If I were so I know I advertised to you when I was inviting you all to play the game that my idea was to literally play through Dark Souls 1, the video game, just as a TTRPG with all that entails, including fuck the waist high ledge, I climb it. Right. You fucking idiot.
Right.
But the more I think about that, the more I actually hate it, because it doesn't, like, the more I think through the actual like playing of that game, the less I think it's fun. So
you would have to do a lot of work to make that work in this sort of medium.
Yeah.
Like the general idea of going through the story, yeah, fantastic.
Right.
Going up the bridge, fighting the dragon, like that whole sequence is a minute in the game. That would take us an hour to get to that part.
Right. And then, oh no, we died.
Do it again.
Not to mention, presumably scaling every boss to what level we might be when we get to that encounter.
Yeah, that's a fucking problem, because Taurus Demon is CR 19, and he's the second boss in the game.
Perfect.
Meanwhile, Iron Golem is like the 5th major boss, and he's CR 16.
Right, so you'd have to go through and like completely rebuild every boss
Pretty much.
Coincide with where we're at that point in that progression.
Yep.
unless you wanted to just like milestone level us up so that we fit where there might be, but where's the fun in that?
Yeah. The other issue with that is
but then that's not souls.
Yeah. The other issue with that is that my idea was that I would give you the items that you would have found in those locations in the original game. But the power levels of all the items are all over the place. And this book is written from a Dark Souls 3 perspective predominantly. So there's a lot of Dark Souls 3 items in here that aren't in Dark Souls 1, and there's a lot of Dark Souls 1 items in the game that aren't in the book. So it's like, what happens when you pick up Dragon Tooth? Actually, I think Dragon Tooth might be in the book, but
there's the ninja flip ring.
But basically, the tabletop game was not written to be played as the video game.
Exactly.
And it would require too much like industrialization to make it fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
So I'm thinking we play a different campaign using this rule set, using the general kind of setting and vibe of Dark Souls, but not, Dark Souls 1. Zero. How did we get on that topic? There are no. Teleporting. Teleporting from bonfire to bonfire. So my intention, if we did play Dark Souls 1, is that I would just give you the ability to teleport to any bonfire you'd been to, even though that game does not until halfway through the game.
And even then, not every bonfire.
And even then, not every bonfire, which is maddening. They figured it out for Dark Souls 2. They figured
old video games.
Yeah, old video game. Yeah, 2000.
They figured out everything for Dark Souls 2.
When did Dark Souls come out? 2011. Yeah, old games. 11 and a half years old. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know is basically the answer. It depends on the kind of campaign we play. So, all right. Next topic. No, we're getting back to the same topic. Death saves. No death saves. 0 position means you die, and then the entire party wipes if 3 of you are dead.
Does that mean if 3 die, the other 2 then immediately are also dead?
That's actually a really good question. Good question. Let's see. Where did I read that? Oh, if more than half of the party of player characters are killed, they have failed. Instead, the player character will reawaken sometime later at the nearest bonfire to where they died.
Failed what?
Just fail. You're a failure.
I think under respawning or somewhere else, it does say that you lose all of your experience as well.
Yes. Yeah, whether you die or not, when you respawn, you leave a blood stain, so you effectively die. Like let's just simplify it. You die.
Okay.
If 3 of you die, the other 2 die as well.
Right. Yeah. When that third person goes down, the other do too as well.
Yep. That way, because here's the thing: if 3 of you are already dead, the other 2 are probably going to lose the fight. And even if you didn't, more than half of the table sitting out while the rest of them finish the fight, not very fun. So
I mean, there is the option of fleeing, but
that's true. But no, there isn't.
Okay.
You die.
As written, no.
It traps you in that room.
You can't go backwards to the fog wall.
Also, looking at it, it says you awaken at the nearest bonfire.
Not necessarily the last one you visited.
Yeah. So even if you haven't visited it yet, if it's closest, you just warp ahead.
Oh, we're doing death warps now. Let's go.
Get right up close to the next bonfire and die.
Just make it a little more than halfway.
Wait. When a player character is reduced to 0 position, they're dead. Blah, blah, blah. The player character will reawaken sometime later at the site of the last bonfire they visited. There's another paragraph that seems kind of irrelevant. And then, determining the nearest bonfire is based on the area the player characters are currently exploring. If player characters have not visited or rested at a bonfire, it can still be used as the closest bonfire for the purposes of awakening after being killed.
So,
but why do we...
The last one, and the closest one. What?
At the same time. Every time you die, 2 of you is made.
We were talking about cloning the cleric. That's how you're doing.
Perfect.
Ta-da!
Can we get a this book sucks?
Is this a 100 like a 100% like a any percent speed run we're doing here?
Yeah, so you cross a line that no one knows is there but you, and you're like, all right, we can die, and then we can get to that bonfire that's like way ahead of us.
Yep. We cross the median. The halfway point is done. Let's just skip ahead.
Yep.
Two of us kill the other three. Jump ahead.
Yeah, or you got to wedge yourself in the cranny of that rock over there because it's technically closer.
Yeah. Like there's this whole fucking wall that's there to keep you from doing this, but there's this one tiny little corner you can shove yourself in, but it only works if you're crouching and facing at this angle.
Yeah.
Do a reverse bunny hop into it.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's the other thing that happens when you die is that everyone has to make those of you who have died has to make a wisdom saving throw, DC 18, and if you fail, you start hollowing, which is it's a common theme in Dark Souls. The more you die, the more you lose yourself, and the player character just happens to be particularly resilient. But you roll a d20 and you just get one of these 20 effects. 12 of them are bad, 5 of them are actually beneficial effects, and 3 of them are just all right, whatever. Like one of them is literally no changes occur, but then 2 of them are like vague role-playing prompts. But then if you roll a 1 on that d20, your character stops existing. Like you go hollow. There's no person there anymore, just a shambling corpse. So don't roll a 1. And maybe hold on to luck sometimes, because luck lets you re-roll any d20.
I assume if we've rolled a 7 before and we roll a 7 again, we re-roll. The idea is to stack up all of the ones that you don't have yet.
That sounds reasonable. I guess.
I guess it depends on how quickly or how often we're all dying.
Yeah, so it you have to die and then you have to fail the whiz save, but the whiz save it's a pretty steep DC. DC.
Do we just? Sorry, go ahead.
DC 18 is nothing to sneeze at, so dying is usually gonna result in some kind of hollowing.
Or do we just replace the one that we just got with the new one?
No, I think they just keep compounding.
Sick.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's death. Okay. Something I noticed yesterday or the other day when I was reading through the class level ups, like what you get at each level, is that half of the classes just don't get an ASI at level 19. Like every fucking D&D class does. Everyone gets the 4, 8, 12, and 16, but half of them don't get an ASI at 19, which is weird. And then the Deprived also gets an ASI at level 1, and it also gets one at 19. So, it's not unheard of for a class to get an extra ASI, but in D&D, they're at 6 and 10 for Fighter and Rogue, respectively. Getting one at level 1 seems hilariously busted. Let me just have 19 fucking strength at level 1.
Yeah, but the Deprive also starts with a club.
Yeah, but I don't think the club's even that terrible.
No, but everybody else starts with what is this? A Mercenary starts with an Estus Flask, Twin Blades, Wooden Shield, and Sellsword Armor. If I remember correctly, the Deprive starts with a club and a loincloth.
And a plank shield.
A club and a plank shield.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Even an Estus Flask?
They do get that.
They do get one. Okay.
But no loincloth.
Yeah.
So I made that part up.
Yeah,
that was wishful thinking on your part, huh?
Yeah, but the club's actually kind of dope. Spend 3 position after a successful attack to unleash a war cry. Your opponent must make a DC 12 wisdom save or be stunned for the next turn. Fucking stun?
It's an easy DC, but damn, that's a...
Yeah.
Right? It's not even a con save. Yeah.
Bunk.
So, I don't think Deprived is,
The club does do hilarious little damage, though.
Yeah, I mean, it is D4 damage. But, like, who gives a shit if you're Unga Bungaing with your +6 to hit at level 1 and +4 damage? Like, D4 +4 is better than a D8 +2. No. Same average.
I do love that in the class list, like the minor class list before it gets into each one of them. Yeah. There's class, description, primary ability, saving throw, and then armor weapon proficiencies.
Yep.
Every single one of them says the same thing for armor weapon proficiencies.
Yep. So why bother having it?
So why list them all separately?
Yep. Yeah, every single class has proficiency in all armor, shields, and weapons as long as prerequisites are met, which is actually the next thing that I have on my list of things to talk about. Everyone is proficient with everything, and it's just a matter of having enough strength to wield it, which is weird to me because staves should have an int requirement. Pyromancy flames should have a charisma requirement. Chimes should have a wisdom requirement. Like,
do they not?
Like they do in the game?
Yeah. Finesse weapons should probably have a dex requirement. Seems kind of weird. But then there's like the Painting Guardian's curved sword, which has a strength requirement, of 20. But it's a finesse weapon.
The fuck?
Okay.
What?
Some of these items are just like, what the actual hell were you thinking?
Maybe every weapon, every item has a strength requirement. Maybe some of those should not be strength, and the number is accurate.
The number's right, but it's the wrong stat.
Yeah.
So I would believe you until you get to the staves, the vast majority of which have no strength requirement. Like, literally one staff requires 12 strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whack. So that might be one of the things that I homebrew is like actual stat requirements on things. But the thing is, like, spending souls to level up does not necessarily increase your ability scores. So
figure it out.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. How do you do that? Like, I think the writers were like, hey, weapons and armor have like stat requirement. Armor never has a stat. No, armor does. No, armor never has a stat requirement. In Dark Souls, armor, yeah, in the Souls games,
no, yeah, you're
armor
right.
does not have stat requirements. Weapons and shields have stat requirements, and they're like, hey, weapons and shields and whatnot have stat requirements. We should put those in the RPG. How do we do that? I don't know, just like minimum strength or whatever. Okay, sure. The other weird thing is that, and this is another thing that I have to talk about. Encumbrance is not handled via poundage. So you can have equipped armor, left weapon, right weapon, and 2 rings. That's your equipment. And then in addition to that, you can carry up to 15... I'm going to call it bulk, because that's what Pathfinder calls it, and that seems dope. You can carry 15 bulk worth of stuff, and that stuff has bulk based on its strength requirement.
That is the opposite of how the game does it. Like,
what do you mean?
You can carry infinite shit with you, and you can only equip what your weight load can handle.
Right. But so I think it'd be kind of interesting if there was an equip load based on your con score.
Wasn't there an equip load somewhere I saw?
I don't remember one. I'm also like, here, equipment. Here we go. Any piece of equipment you are wearing or carrying with the intention of actively using is not considered part of your 15 equipment slots. These are active, and so instead take up your 5 active slots. That's it.
Okay, I misunderstood that then.
It's written very poorly.
It's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
That's weird.
This book sucks.
That's definitely this book sucks. Here's the worst part. You remember that curved guardian, the painting curved painting guardian sword, whatever the fuck it's
Don't hurt
Yep.
yourself.
There's a
I do remember that. I do remember that sword with like 1,000 words in its name.
It's 4 words. I just can't remember what order they're in. So in the video game, that's a tiny sword. It's like that long. It's a dex weapon. It has shit awful reach, and it weighs like 1 unit, whatever the fuck the units are in that game. But since it has a 20 strength requirement, that takes up 2 bulk.
That's fucking silly.
I'm very upset at the equipment in this book, and it's like a third of the book is equipment, and it's like, what fucking intern did you assign to just write all this garbage?
They just needed all the pictures in there to make people like go, oh shit, that's a Dark Souls.
Uh-huh.
Oh fuck, there's Havels.
So yeah, I'm probably gonna take inspiration from the book, but like anytime I'm doling out treasure, I'm just gonna fang it. Yeah, so that's the thing. All right, next on the list. Initiative is weird. Enemies don't roll for initiative. They have an initiative DC. The initiative DC for the encounter is determined by the initiative DC of the highest CR monster in that encounter. So if there's a CR1 with an initiative DC of 18, but a CR3 with an initiative DC of 12, DC is 12. And then you are rolling initiative. All of the monsters effectively go at initiative 12. And then you're just rolling to see if you're above or below them. And then in any given round, those of you who are above them decide who goes first. And then of the people who rolled below them, you decide who goes first. And that's on a per round basis. So it's just like, all right, group A, group B. Fucking go. Do your turns. So I'm hoping that we can leverage that kind of wishy-washy wobbles to make combat go faster. Because there's effectively 3 turns in combat. There's fast group, enemies, slow group. And like, that's a round. Like, hopefully we can make turns go faster. But then obviously as soon as one of you does something that requires like me to actually engage, like I'm gonna cast a spell, you need to roll some fucking dex saves for these assholes. Like, okay, well, everyone else shut up, I'm handling this spell. But like, if we're playing on Foundry, everyone just starts fucking moving their tokens around. Just go. At least that's yeah. All right.
No offense, Luke's not in this group, so you don't have to worry about setting off any traps unknowingly.
That is true. Yeah.
Love you, Luke.
I think that state is the ideal, but we're probably going to fall back to individual turns being taken.
Probably. Especially as your turns get more and more complicated as you level up. Like at level 1, especially if none of you are spellcasters, it's like, I run in, I swing sword. I hit the button that makes me roll on Foundry, and it showed up, and I go, okay, what showed up in chat? And I can even leave on the turn marker. I have a turn marker module that adds something to chat when a turn starts, and I can actually like put in initiative group, fast group. That is, whose turn it is, and then it says, okay, fast group, and then I can see where all the fast group dice rolls are. If we decide to use Foundry, I doubt we are, because there's a lot of shit that Foundry can't handle, like position and equipment properly. I mean, you could just hard code your AC, but I don't know. There's a bunch of shit that I don't think Foundry's... your classes, for one. Foundry can't handle those, because they're all homebrew. So yeah, I don't know that we're going to use Foundry, but yeah, maybe we just write some macros for making attacks. I don't know. We'll probably at the very least use Foundry for, a virtual tabletop for like actually positioning. And probably very little else. So
But not for position.
But not for position. Positioning, not position. So crits, for some reason, are not double your dice. They are double your damage. Roll your damage, add your modifiers, then double it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a backstab.
I don't know why.
That's a backstab.
I don't know why they decided to make that change.
So you can get the full benefit of the additions and not just the dice roll.
Oh, actually, that's a really good point, because you could spend, like, that would be the time to spend all of your position on damage.
Right, yeah. So if you get to add, like you said, 37 to a dice roll because you're burning up that position, then you get to double that fucking 37. You really get to go all in on that gamble.
You got a point?
So that's this game's version of Smite.
Yeah, pretty
Except
much.
everyone can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Paladins are special.
That also makes auto crits very valuable.
Oh fuck.
Jordan, what's the class that lets you spend position on, like,
Mercenary.
Mercenary? Thank you.
Level 20 ability.
Yep. At 20th level, you can combine your experience and training into a series of devastating attacks on a single creature of your choice. Once per long rest, you may nominate a creature you're in combat with. You may spend position to increase your damage rolls against that target by d20 at a cost of 3 position per additional d20 of damage.
Fucking what?
Wow.
It doesn't, I don't know whether or not you're allowed to do that more than once per attack.
Well,
It doesn't say that you can do it multiple times, which a lot of things do specifically call that out. So I think that is a one maybe, I don't know. Still, 3 position for d20 damage. Fuck.
Yeah, that's anyway, that's bloodied is an actual condition. Yep, we talked about that. Origins have bloodied abilities. Yep. Encumbrances. Yep. Okay.
I don't think there's a limit.
There's no limit on death blows.
3 position per additional d20.
Yeah, no, you can definitely
Yeah.
But
Fucking
also
Nova.
Yeah.
is it the multi-attack defense?
Mhm.
You can just bump your AC up to a maximum of plus 10.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Mercenary is kind of freaky deaky.
Though they also have favorite enemy, which you should just track undead.
Sure. I mean, everyone's undead, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd like to find the nearest undead person. Oh.
It's Jordan.
Standing to your left.
Oh
Oh shit, we got an auto crit.
Oh, boy.
Swousing into the boss. Oh jeez, I saw the auto crit and then I saw Shadow's message just below it. That's an auto crit for me. Thanks, Rambo.
Oh, fuck butts.
We're gonna die enough.
It already begins.
Quick souls.
Alright.
Do enemies have position? Like
Yes,
that they
enemies
can
have
spend?
position that they can spend. So
that's
there's a section on variant rules, basically saying like, hey, if you don't want to be like that much of a dick, like you can add some of these rules, and
But
one
you
of
do,
them,
so you will.
and exactly, and one of them is enemies can't spend position. But fuck that noise. I'm trying
So
to
we
find what that is.
fighting the boss and get the so that's a 75 damage to your 15 health.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, does a 52 hit?
That too. So yeah, the following guidelines should give you an idea of how to tweak your game to make it a little less unforgiving. Players don't lose souls after death. Remove the bloodied condition, which doesn't seem like it makes things easier. It just makes things less complicated. Because, like, you guys have bloodied condition too? Like, you have a bloodied ability, so do enemies. It seems like an equalizer, kind of. I don't know. And then the third one is creatures can't spend position. Which is a big deal because some of the bosses have attacks that they can only use by spending position.
And we use the variant rule of collecting the fees when we land on parking. Like collecting the treasury when we land on parking. Can we use that rule?
Go to jail. Go directly to jail.
All right.
Do not pass go. Do not go fuck yourself.
Does it hurt you to say yes? Because we're never gonna land on free parking anyway.
I thought about it. I did. I thought about it, but then I decided I can't encourage that kind of behavior.
Can't sanction my buffoonery.
Yeah, I can't sanction your buffoonery. So yeah, that's the game. That's, you know, I just explained the entirety of Dark Souls the RPG, you know, minus the parts that are already 5th edition. Yeah, I didn't explain how saving throws work. I didn't explain how proficiency bonus works. None of that's changed.
How do I move?
What?
How do I move?
You click and drag. All right.
The Origins have a base speed.
Yeah, everyone's got 30 feet. So that's...
You roll 2d6s and you can move a number of spaces equal to the number you roll.
Guys, if you want to play Monopoly, just let me know. We can play fucking Monopoly.
Is there a Monopoly Dark Souls edition?
Oh
It
my
is.
God.
It is just as equally brutal to play.
Dark Souls-opoly. Yes, there's a Dark Souls Monopoly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Great. That makes sense.
Is it actual
NBC
Monopoly or is it
No.
one of those Opoly games?
No, it's unofficial.
What's Boardwalk?
On this one, it is... Oh, God. Kill the
Think you're
First
CG.
Flame.
Yeah, okay. That's kind of boring, but sure.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the cheer, Super CT8. Yeah, okay. So that... All right. That's the thing. All right. So let's talk about what kind of fucking game we want to play. So I spent a lot of time thinking about, like, what the fuck game do I want to play? Because I got increasingly worried about, you know, playing Dark Souls 1, the RPG, being garbage. So I started thinking about, like, what game do I want to play? And then that led me to a better question, which is, what game can I play that I normally can't? So I set out to identify the things that sets this RPG apart from D&D. And I identified 3 main things, and 2 of them are kind of the same thing. The first one is that you are undead. You are undead in a world that presumably has living people. And maybe the undead are all cloistered in one city. I don't know. We don't know, like, I don't know where I'm setting this in the timeline. So maybe it's Lordran and all the undead are stuck in Lordran. Maybe it's closer to Dark Souls 3 where the undead curse is basically spread to the entire world. Maybe it's somewhere in between. Fuck Dark Souls 2. I have no idea where it fits in the timeline. I don't think it does.
Above it.
Yeah, it's above the timeline. There's
Can
also...
we get a fuck Dark Souls 2 counter?
Sure. Mods, add a fuck Dark Souls 2 counter. So yeah, you are undead in a world that has living people, unless we decide otherwise. So what does what does it mean to be undead? What is it like to explore the relationship between the undead and the living from a different perspective than we're used to? Normally we're playing living characters smiting the undead because they're an affront to... Now you're just people trying to, like, make a living, and you got thrown into this shit.
Don't you mean making a deading?
You're trying to make an unliving. Yeah, so just that kind of experience, we can explore, weird themes that a normal D&D campaign typically can't. And, maybe that's absolutely something that you could do in D&D. Like, you could just say, yeah, we're all undead characters, and Healing Word doesn't fucking work on us, so we'll have to figure something out. But this system kind of handles it a little better, I think.
What are the differences between the living and the undead, or is that something we would explore later?
So...
Because I know you've got the respawning, you've got the hollowing, and that's about all I know is different between them.
Yeah, so generally... So hollowing really is the big one. But the thing is, as soon as you die for the first time and become undead, at least half of your personality is just sheared off. you are a fragment of who you once were. And is that a freeing sensation? Have you thrown off the shackles of your shitty life? Or are you desperately clinging to what you once were? And like those are some interesting concepts that we could explore. But yeah, the hollowing is really the big difference between the living and the dead. Just this constant, the living are striving towards greater and greater, and the undead are fighting against the darkness, so to speak.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
Sure.
I apologize.
I was done. I was trying to find a segue, so go ahead.
Gotcha. Sorry. One of the things I was interested in was, as I was going through like the character creation, was there's a list for not just like your backstory, but also what is a thing that you remember.
Yep.
Which I saw you can like bring up at a bonfire.
Mm-hmm.
So is this something where we could pursue a story of like, who were we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's the kind of story that we would want to tell, then sure. I will say that I have played games where a player basically says to me, I want to play a character that doesn't know who they are and they want to find out who they are. And basically what that says to me, the DM, is write a story.
Sure.
And that's okay when it's like one player, 4 campaigns apart, but like sometimes I don't want to write an entire fictional backstory for every single fucking player.
Not in the sense that like we go in unknowing and you make up the backstory, but maybe that like the quest is for us as a player to unlock that knowledge of who we were. Like maybe we ourselves write our backstories, but like, our ultimate goal within game is to unlock that memory, so to speak, kind of return to who we were.
So you're saying essentially metagame the fuck out of it, or the player knows all about it, but the character doesn't, and you have to. You would strive to separate those two. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then kind of like our goal as a player is to kind of regain that, get our humanity back, so to speak. Like, is that a story that we could potentially pursue? Yeah. I don't see why not. All right. Go ahead.
Back on the topic of hollowing, sorry. I just want to make sure I understand it in general. Hollowing, going hollow is basically the undead losing their completely losing their sense of self and becoming a mindless zombie. Yep. And my understanding is that can only be avoided as long as you have something to hold on to, something to keep yourself sane, basically. And all of the undead in the game have a goal that they strive for. And when the ones that go hollow find their goal impossible or something, or achieve it, and have nothing after that. Is that always the case, or are there other ways to go hollow? There are, so we might have to decrement the counter, but Dark Souls 2 actually did this pretty well mechanically, in that every time you die, you hollow just a little bit. And even if your goal is eminently achievable, it may start to seem impossible the more you die. So you do end up losing yourself. And that's rolling a 1 on the hollowing table. Rolling a 1 on the hollowing table means you've given up. You've decided that your goal is impossible and that there's no sense trying anymore, and that you are just going to stop. That is a potentially like interesting meta mechanic of saying that, like, that, because like you said, Mike, like typically somebody becomes a hollow because either they achieve their goal and they don't know what they're doing, or they think that they can't do it. So like the idea that like the more you die, that does weigh on you. So that is like an interesting mechanic to like add on top of. Yeah. And the way that that's represented in Dark Souls 2 is that you actually lose max HP the more you die. Like your max HP is reduced by like 5% each time you die, down to half. So you as a player are literally going like, shit, I don't know if I could do this. Exactly. And then and this is actually a thing that the community has decided upon. A player character goes hollow
when the player deletes that character.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's,
god.
That's
Or
not
when
clever.
they close the game and never open it again.
My poor Dark
Uninstalling
Souls
is
1
Halloween.
character.
Got it.
What's that? Mike, what'd you say?
I said uninstalling is Halloween. Got it.
Yes, uninstalling is Halloween. Yes. Yeah. All right. So that's the first of three things that I identified as interesting about this system, this setting. The second thing is kind of along the same lines. It has to do with the fact that you're undead, but it's specifically the fact that you can't die. So not only does that allow for some fresh gameplay in that I can just throw these disgustingly overpowered fights at you with the expectation that you'll either learn something from it and decide to go in forewarned and forearmed. You know, oh, that guy does a butt ton of piercing damage. Let me equip armor that gives me resistance to piercing damage or something like that. I don't know if that's actually possible, but, you know, interact with the mechanics in ways that require foresight that base D&D can't really afford you in any way. Or even interesting things like using death to your advantage. I don't actually care about these enemies. I just care about that item that's on the other side of the room. So I am going to definitely die.
Run in, grab it, die.
But I'm going to get the item in the meantime. Which, if anyone's ever played Dark Souls 1, that's how you get the large Divine Ember. There's no way to get out of that room without dying. I'm fucking sorry. That room is bullshit. I've done it. I've done it once. I've killed the enemies in that room
good.
I've killed the enemies in that room one time. The problem is there's like 6 of them. They're really big, and it's dark in the room, which means you can't use any ranged attacks because you can't lock onto them. So you can't cheese them in any way, and it's like you have to jump down. It's a mess. It's a mess.
They can use the ranged attacks, just can't aim.
You can't aim them. Yeah.
That's free aim.
I mean, you could free aim, I guess.
It's so bad.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so death as a mechanic allows for a lot of, I think, it allows for a lot of interesting gameplay that you know we can't normally see in D&D because dying is frequently irrelevant, but also still kind of a big deal. Like someone dies, like fuck, we gotta raise this dumbass, and if I don't do it in the next minute, he's gonna get res sickness. And then we have to rest for 4 fucking days. It's a pain. Instead, it's like it's so inconvenient. Instead, fuck it. I'm just gonna full send it, and maybe I learned something.
I think the main difference there is that a TPK is not the end.
Sure.
Like if one person dies, yeah, you can revivify them. But if everybody dies, well, okay, start up new characters. But in this case, okay, back to the bonfire. Let's try again.
Yeah. So my concern there is if we spend 3-4 hours fighting our way through a bunch of encounters, and then you die to the 5th encounter, and you have to go back to the bonfire, all the enemies respawn. Fuck. So an idea that I had come up with. Sorry, let me back up before I tell you what my idea is. Let me tell you the other problem with that is, let's say you run into an encounter, you run into a boss fight that you just do not think that you're equipped to kill, and you're like, all I gotta do is level up like one more time. One more level up, we'll be able to kill it. Like next level I get fucking extra attack and I'm gonna be twice as powerful. We got this as long as I'm level 5. Okay, cool. So what do? You go back to the last bonfire and you kill that first enemy out of that bonfire. You sit down. You kill that first enemy. You sit down. You kill that first enemy. And in the video game, they force you to play this out. They force you to grind it. And there's no bargaining with a video game. You can bargain with a DM. You can ask, pretty please, can we skip the boring part? And me, not wanting to play the boring part, is going to say, yes, we can skip the boring part. I already know that you can kill that enemy. There's basically no fucking chance that you die. You're not under any time crunch. Yeah. You kill the enemy, you sit down. You kill the enemy, you sit down. You kill the enemy. So that's a problem. Because you could just say, I kill that enemy 15 million times. And then I have infinity fucking souls. And I level up to 20. Because fuck your game. That's why. I don't want to be on hard mode. I want to cheese everything. And why wouldn't you?
Speedrun.
And why wouldn't you want to do that? You know? I, the conscientious DM, cannot allow a rule that allows the best way to play to be unfun. So, the idea that I came up with that solves both of these problems, the grinding your way through encounters to get to a boss versus to try again on a boss, and also solves the let's farm this one encounter repeatedly, is two similar rules that are basically the same thing. Every time you clear an encounter, the next time you clear that encounter, you get 20% fewer souls. Stacking. 5 times you can clear an encounter. The first time it gets you 100%, then 80, then 60, then 40, then 20. After that, 6th time you fight that encounter, you're getting nothing out of it. The other thing is, all of the enemies in that encounter have minus 10% max HP. Down to a minimum of 50%. So after clearing the same encounter 5 times, the next time you go through, the 6th time you go through, and thereafter, they have half health. They're not really that big a deal. And also, you're getting fucking nothing for killing them. So, you can farm. If you find an easy encounter, you can farm it a few times. You can get some souls out of it. Sure. But not infinitely. But also, if you die to the same boss 5 times, eventually the fights on the way there stop being a big deal.
Right.
They take less time because the enemies have less health.
We render certain encounters obsolete, in essence.
Essentially, yeah.
Right.
And with the attraction of health being position, lowering their position is just, you'd figure out the tactics better or whatever.
Exactly. Yep. I'm not lowering their meat points. I'm just lowering their threat to you, how threatening they are to you. You know,
at a certain point, you run past them. You don't even bother to fucking fight them. We've all probably done that. Well, except
yeah.
I know as much about Dark Souls as Bayless knows about Avatar.
Yeah.
Going with the bald monk or the blue people?
Bald
monk. The bald blue monk.
I don't know. I haven't seen either. So.
Oh, you need to watch Avatar.
I learned recently that the reason they had to call it The Last Airbender is because James Cameron had already trademarked Avatar.
Yep.
Asshole.
Like 10 years before the movie came out.
Yep.
That's some bullshit.
Anyway, but yeah, so the TV show...
It's a good subtitle anyway.
It is a good subtitle. I was going to say, like, the TV show would have been just called Avatar, but I think I like Avatar The Last Airbender anyway.
Well, they kind of built themselves up for a subtitle of, like, other stories. Thus, you know, Legend of Korra, and then whatever this new one's going to be.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. They're making a new one for the Avatar after Korra.
So excited.
Anyway, it's going to be, like, modern day era, I think, too.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right. So, what the hell was the third thing? Yeah. Oh no. Steph, help. Steph and Moses, help me.
What was the third thing about this game that we can't do in a D&D?
Oh, the setting in general. Just the setting. All of this lore. That I don't know how much I want to reveal because, maybe some of the lore is important to the plot of the game. But basically, it's a world that is constantly fading. And it requires the acts of a great few to keep it from fading. And pretty much everyone else in the world is just happy to get theirs. And everyone else be damned. And they will create their little corner of light in a world of shrinking, creeping darkness, and most people are happy to do that. But it takes these greats occasionally to rekindle the flame. Literally, like that's actually what it's called when they do that.
I hesitate to make a comparison, knowing like that you were trying to keep certain elements spoiler free.
Yeah.
But Ravenloft.
How so?
Because both of them are persistently in their place, and there's not really like a little less so with Dark Souls, but both of them are kind of persistently in their place, and there's not really a way to undo that.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like there's certainly an element of being trapped in a system that you can interact with, you can modify it, but you can't get rid of it. Right. You cannot remove this system and replace it with another one, no matter how much you try. So yeah, there's definitely similarities there. But yeah, that's so my sort of elevator pitch for the world of Dark Souls is that typically, despite being undead, the main character is destined for greatness and is typically after improving the world itself, generally at the expense of a lot of the great people in it. Because you murder people to achieve your goals.
Yeah.
That would be my elevator pitch.
Well, I guess never mind.
Okay. So, those are the things that I think are unique about the kinds of games that we can play with this system, this setting. You know, I think the system supports the setting in a lot of ways, which is like, especially in the different items. You know, Havel's armor suggests the existence of the Bishop Havel, so you know I can just slap Havel into the story somewhere, and it's like, cool, Havel's armor exists. Havel's armor makes sense. So like there's all these, you know, lore story elements that are supported by the existence of items, by the existence of the Estus flask, so on and so forth. So the setting is supported by the system. So that's why I say that the setting is sort of uniquely accessible given the system. But those are the three things that I identified. I am curious if anyone has come up with anything else that is sort of unique about the kinds of games that we can play in this system. But barring that, I would love to hear if anyone has like overarching ideas for the kind of campaign. Like, did any of that, you know, half-hour diatribe spark anything that's like, I would really love to play a game where?
I feel like it depends on if we want a game where the idea is beating the next thing, or if we want a game where we explore the actual like setting of Dark Souls, because I feel like both are achievably interesting mechanical games to play.
Yeah.
Because it could just literally be a boss onslaught, you know, like it's the beat 'em up level right before you go fight final boss, and they throw all the bosses right back at you. You know,
right.
We could literally just do that gauntlet run, or it could be where we actually pursue, like you said, the 3-game long lore of Dark Souls in a story.
Yeah. I would say that for me, from a DMing perspective, I would get bored of just like fight after fight after fight after fight after fight after probably 4 or 5 sessions. I think at that point I'd be like, all right, this is fucking boring. Let's stop playing this game. You know, for me, telling stories and interacting with stories and seeing character growth and really emergent gameplay is why I enjoy playing RPGs. Is emergent interaction. And you know, if I throw a fight at you, maybe occasionally you guys come up with a new tactic that I hadn't thought of, and it's like, oh wow, that's cool. All right, so Matt, it's your turn. You know what I mean? Whereas like when we're playing a game, you know, and we're playing a role-playing game. Like we're playing a role-playing game, and I feel like if we're playing a game where it's just fight, are we really still playing a role-playing game, or are we playing a shitty CRPG except I have to play the role of the fucking computer? So that would be my answer to that question. Is I would want to explore the world and tell a story I'm just not sure what that story should be. What shape the story should take. So
I feel like personally, I don't know enough about the lore or Dark Souls in general to really have an idea of what I want from it, because I don't know what's possible within it.
okay.
So like I understand the concepts of like the undeath and there are like people who are undead and there are people who are still living, coexisting within the same world, and everything's kind of falling apart and everyone's vying for different things within that structure. But like, I don't know, I feel like it's such an established universe at this point that I know very little about.
I would caution against that assumption, that it is an established universe, because there is a decent amount of lore, but there's also, number one, that lore is obfuscated shit, and number two, there's a decent amount of lore, but there is in no way, like, this is not like Forgotten Realms, like every fucking city has a name and a chief export. None of that shit exists. None of that shit exists. It's like the games basically only cover what you, the chosen undead, the unkindled, I don't remember what you're referred to as in the second game, Wander, I don't know.
Bear of the Curse?
Yep, Bear of the Curse, that's the boy. The games only really cover what you give a shit about, and those things are so, like, so generally here's the best way that I can explain it. The best way to build a world is you ask any question, you give an answer, and then you ask why. Just why. And then you give an answer to that. Then you ask why. You give an answer to that. And then you ask why. And you give an answer to that. And if you go 3 levels of why deep, you will have a deep, unified, connected world. Dark Souls only went 1 why deep. Period. And like at no fucking point did they think further than that. This is a thing that's true. Why is that true? Because this. Why is that true? Shut up. It like they never thought that deep. They never thought that far. They never thought that interconnected. There are bits and pieces and indistinct, unconnected pieces of lore that sure we can connect, but we can connect them in whatever fucking order we want, because we're free to do that because they haven't done jack shit with it. So
Miyazaki.
Yeah. So I just wanted to strongly caution against that assumption, because we really can tell whatever the fuck story we want. But there was one thing that you said that I did want to just sort of correct. You had said that the living and the undead are coexisting in a world that's collectively falling apart. I don't know that that's true. My understanding, which I can put in the garbage and build a different understanding if you know we decide that that's better, but my understanding currently is that the living are in a world that's fine. There are people. They do civilization things. I don't fucking know what their technology level, I don't know. They do living things. Some people become undead and they get exiled to the undead place. We don't touch the undead place. The undead place is falling the fuck apart. And then my understanding is that over millennia, the undead place keeps expanding because people keep dying and more undead keep happening. So there's more and more undead and fewer living people. So the undead keeps expanding to eventually overtake the entire world, blah, 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 etc. You know, Grey Goo, etc. Blah, blah, blah. It's not actually Grey Goo. Shut up, Mike.
It's kind of the same element of like Elden Ring's plot, basically, where like at a certain I guess spoiler alert, at some point somebody broke the rule that says that you can't die anymore, so everybody just became numerous because you couldn't die anymore. So the you know, meat and potatoes of the plot is to fix it so people can die again. This is kind of the inverse of that. Like everybody kept dying and it's kept piling up.
Yeah.
Do you ever meet a living person in the first game?
In Elden Ring? Or in the first game? No.
In Dark Souls?
Nope.
No, okay.
Every single person you meet is either undead or a demon.
Is that a story that we could pursue then? Like the idea of like us doing something to regain that humanity, to go back to.
Yes, that is something we could do.
Just what I was about to ask.
Let's discover resurrection.
So that was something that I had thought was, you're gonna like in the between times, so Dark Souls 1, you essentially have all the undead confined to this one ancient city where the gods came and died. Whatever, all the undead are confined to Lordran, this one city. And then in Dark Souls 3, it's kind of sort of suggested that it's like nearing the end of fucking time, and the whole world is undead, and pilgrims come to, where you are because everyone's already fucking undead, but this is the important place. This is where the undeath started. Anywhere in between, we can explore this, like, oh, are there undead? Can they try to stop being undead? What does it mean to interact with the still living? Yes, we can absolutely explore that kind of story. Yeah.
Dope.
Matt, what do you think? You've been quiet for a while.
No, kind of I was actually gonna bring up the same thing of trying to figure out, like, yeah, we're dead. What's our future? Is it we're now dead, we're undead forever? Is there a way to go back? Is there something we can do productive wise? Like, what does the future hold? And like with the drives, if you're trying to find a way back to your humanity, or if you're going to be more embracing of undeath and just like, I can't die, and I'm gonna take advantage of doing all the stupid things that I would never have done in life. But then also, I am really interested in the lore. Like, I've seen bits and pieces here and there, and I think it's great learning more about everything. Where like Dungeons and Dragons Forgotten Realms, I know way too much about a lot of that stuff. So it's like, oh, this place, oh, fun fact, 1,000 years ago, this is a thing that happened here. And coming into this, everything's new. So it's diving into that kind of stuff and finding out, like, oh, this is so and so who is a founder of this place, or oh, this is actually a great hero who something happened and now they're here. But then also, I think with the Dark Souls setting of looking at combat where it's, you can die, you're probably going to die. We're of the enemies being deadly, I guess, is kind of the thought. Like what you mentioned earlier, where you can just ramp up the difficulty on encounters and be like, oh, sorry, you guys screwed up this bit, you're all dead now. Because it feels, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't want to say less punishing, but at the same time, it's okay, you died, some stuff happened, maybe good, maybe bad, but it's not a reset of the game.
Right. Try again. Yeah. It is kind of weird how it's both more and less punishing.
Unfair, but in a fair way.
Right.
Yeah.
Punishing but fair.
I don't know if because I don't know anything about the lore, but is there a way to end the curse of undeath? Even if that means ending ourselves.
Yeah, kind of make death permanent again, so to speak.
Okay.
That sounds like an awesome thing to explore.
Yeah.
And that could be a way to, insert lore here. And maybe as you fight more of the bosses, the curse I don't know.
We gain enough thingies that we can do a thingy.
Yeah, you gotta get the right thingy to do the thingy, and
yeah, we gotta collect MacGuffin parts to
build
a whole MacGuffin.
So okay, so it kind of sounds like everyone came to the same conclusion, which is basically that you all want to strive towards not being fucking undead anymore.
One way or another, yeah.
One way or another. Either permanently dying or, fixing shit.
Yeah.
The only alternative I would suggest, and this is just because Matt said something about each of us having our drive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it would be a mechanical thing to pull off, but it'd be mildly interesting if we had that thing, right? We got to get the MacGuffin. What if we each had our thing that we wanted to do, and somehow only one of us can get that thing? Again, like, I don't know how mechanically you could pull that off, but like, that's a fun concept of like all of us kind of secretly have our want to end game thing. We all secretly have our own personal want for the MacGuffin, the plot resolution.
Okay. So that actually brings me like that. I mean, that doesn't bring me. It's not like I was expecting to go anywhere. But that rings a bell in my head, and that bell is an evil campaign. So evil characters. So in my head, evil campaigns are not campaigns where you do all the grim dark, like, gore shit that lurks in the the recesses of your lizard brain. Evil, yeah, it's not edgelord bullshit. An evil campaign to me is a campaign with selfish characters. That's the crux of what evil for an RPG campaign means to me. And there's this great video on YouTube. I think it's Owly Bear Art did it. She has like 4 videos on her channel, and one of them is how to run evil campaigns like Team Rocket.
Oh man, this is gonna be good. And
it's fantastic. So she has 5 rules for running an evil campaign, and I'm probably not gonna remember all of them, but it's basically one of them is just good advice for any RPG table, which is Team Rocket doesn't say fuck. It's just come up with ground rules for your table. These are lines that the party will not cross. Yeah, no shit. That you should do that in a session 0. Like that's a thing that a party should do. One of the rules is that Team Rocket is a family. They never stab each other in the back. They never do anything against one another. They all trust each other implicitly, so on and so forth. None of you are going to do anything explicitly against one another. But that's not to say that you're not going to suggest to the party that you do something that furthers your own goals. Not for any good reason, just I want to do a thing. And if you can convince them to do that, great. I blanked on the rest. Go watch the video. Check out Owly Bear Art. How to run an evil campaign. It's a great video. I literally watched it like a week ago with the expectation that I might need this information for later. So yeah, no, to your point, Bayless, I think it would be kind of interesting for each of you to just have this sort of like secret drive that you could push the party towards in ways that might not be overt or honest.
Right. Because maybe we're all going after lighting the flame, and lighting the flame means that you personally get to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You get to we're resetting the world, but in what rulings? We get to decide that because we did the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I say, like, I don't know if there's a mechanical way that you can say that, like, okay, well, Nathan's the one that did it, so he gets to decide how the rules get reset. Yeah. What does that look like?
Yeah, so my main concern with something like that, an ending where only one of you can get what they want, is that there's a winner and 4 losers.
Right.
And that it's really, really hard not to walk away from the table feeling like that, especially if you spend, 20 sessions playing the fucking game to get there.
Yeah, like that's a one session victory, because you played the one game, you can play it again.
Right.
Real losers are the friends we made along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would be my main concern, is that that I think that might actually be one of Owly Bear Art's rules, which is that you're all working towards the same goal. You have a common goal, and you're just kind of shitty people about getting there. But I have a feeling that morally gray is probably the nicest way that I could describe the kinds of shit that a bunch of undead characters are going to get up to. So I think we are kind of going to end up playing an evil campaign, because who gives a shit if we murder the fuck about a bunch of undead? They're undead. They'll come back. They won't feel it.
Campaign.
Yeah, well, and it also brings up how much of the humanity is left in the undead. Like, do you realize what you're doing isn't good?
Yeah. And maybe that contributes to your hollowing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, next time you die, you go, oh, God.
Moral objectivism over here? What?
I'm a shitty person.
Especially if there's an element of remembering your life before being undead and realizing that, like, maybe you weren't a shitty person in life, and you're kind of wrestling with that thought of, like, you know, maybe in life you were a preacher, and you now have to wrestle with the fact you just murdered 5 fucking people for enjoyment.
Yeah, I also like looking into like the memories and stuff, where I forget, but a couple of them like mention like, oh, I was a knight, I think.
I mean, I was buried in all this fucking armor. I guess I'm a knight.
Yeah, but the thing of like sitting there going, no, I have memories. I was totally a knight. Like I was. There's like actually you were like the armorer. You were with the knights all the time.
Yeah.
But you were actually the guy fixing the armor.
Yeah, all those stories you remember about the shit you did were stories they told you.
I know one of the memories was, like your last memory was, there's a crowd of people surrounding you, happy to see you dying. Or something like that. Yeah.
That's rough.
And then there was another one that was like, nothing is below your feet. The only thing holding you up is the noose around your neck or something. It's just like, God.
Well, I like the one of, I remember opening a treasure chest.
Yeah. Woof. Yeah. So I would love, and I don't know if you guys can put your ideas in this format, but I would love to hear a sentence from each of you that starts with, I would really love to play a game where. Because I feel like that's just sort of the encapsulation of like, what do you want to get out of this game? Like, given everything you know about the system and what little you know about the lore, I feel like that's the best way to express like what you'd like to play.
I would like to play a game where you can actually fix the world. I know that like, I realize it's a very grandiose thing, but like, not just like save the town from the dragon, like actually like fix and better the entirety of things.
Okay.
Especially because happy endings in Dark Souls are not a commonality.
Right.
Even the good ending is the bad ending.
Bruh. You ain't lying.
Yeah.
Elden Ring has the first ever like proper like good character resolution, by the way. Like there's a NPC where you just have like a nice ending and that's it.
Which NPC is that?
Bach.
Oh, I don't think I ever finished his quest line.
What? Do that.
The demi-human?
Yeah, the one. No, Bach, the guy that can like do like tailoring and adjustments and stuff.
Yeah, he's the seamster.
He does not have a happy.
I don't think his ending is very happy. Yeah, from what I remember.
We don't have to go into the spoilers now, but it's not a happy ending.
Oh, the replay that I've seen like had like a nice ending where he was like told he was loved and shit, and he was just like, "Oh, that's amazing, thank you."
Okay, that's one of them. I forgot about that one.
Oh,
it
one
never
of them.
happens.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to be a part of a game in this particular setting that explores the moral grays along the way. Like you think you're helping someone, but maybe you don't have the full picture. Kind of a thing. I have a particular like background that just started brewing in my head.
Okay.
Like a character that's like very railroad mind, but then as he's bulldozing the way through, like making difficult choices between like helping a person or getting to the thing that he wanted to do, or I guess kind of like that philosophical question of like 3 strangers on the railroad track and the one person that you know. Who are you throwing the train on over?
Okay.
Like those kind of situations.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
I think the more we've discussed the setting and all that entails, the more I've been interested in playing a game where we're acting more out of selfishness than selflessness.
Okay. What does that mean to you?
The players have their own agenda, whatever that might be, and this is, as a party, we can come to that. And we're not slaying the dragon because it's going to attack the village. We're slaying the dragon because it has money or loot, or it's something that we're doing specifically because it's going to benefit us, and not because it's going to necessarily help other people.
Okay. Cool. I'm very glad I asked you what that means, because it's slightly different from like that's basically textbook selfishness, but it is slightly different from the conception that I had of it. So I am glad that I asked you to clarify that. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to say about that?
Group selfishness, I guess, as opposed to individual selfishness.
I like the idea of the evil, the quote unquote evil campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I think this setting probably yields itself pretty well to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The little bit I know about it.
Yeah, and then that actually plays into Nathan's want for these morally gray decisions. It's like, do I do what I want to do, or do I help this idiot? Wait, can I just murder him and then he no longer has a problem and that helps me in some way? Can I steal his armor?
Problem is gone.
The problem's gone.
Can I murder him about it?
Can I murder him about it? Yeah. No, yeah. So yeah. Okay. Cool. So that is interesting. That it interacts interestingly with Bayless's desire to fix the world.
Yes, I do realize that in retrospect.
I mean,
but
could
I'm not
be
opposed to not getting that.
Sure.
It could be selfish if you can fix the world and so cure the curse or whatever the case is, and or become human again. Yeah. Like you're doing this with the expectation that you're going to become human again.
Yeah.
Afterwards, like
and it can still be a morally gray, selfish quest if becoming human means permanently murdering swaths of undead who otherwise could have turned human again.
Yeah.
So like, there's no reason those two things are mutually exclusive, but it is interesting that the interaction.
Solving the world might not necessarily benefit a lot of people if a lot of people are undead and not going to exist anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Mike or Matt, do you have I would really like to play a game where?
Yeah, I think especially with everything we've been talking about, I'd like to play something where we're, I guess, exploring the, like I said earlier, the whole we're dead now. What does that mean for us? What does it mean for the world on the whole? Is there a way forward? Kind of exploring that, how we've been changed. Is there a way forward? Can we fix this? Does it need fixing? And kind of just that whole self-discovery almost, because of kind of seeing like, are we the same people that we were before we died?
Okay, I'm starting to see an entire party of adventurers that have very different moral philosophies that all end up heading the same direction, and I'm really liking what's happening here. Anything else you wanted to add, or can I go to Mike to get his?
I think it should be good.
Okay. All right, Mike. What's your? I would really love to play a game where
something to basically expand on what Nate and Jordan said. Like I think that the idea behind the Dark Souls is like there's this whole huge thing that needs to be done, and everybody's aware of it. Everybody could do it, and ultimately it's the player that does it. So that sort of thing. But also, do I gotta? What if I got my own stuff going on and doing one in spite of the other? Which do I do? Do I do my own thing? Do I do the big grand quest? Which matters more? Can I do both? Who needs to get run over by the trolley if I pick one or the other? That sort of thing, I think.
Little tractor thing.
Yeah, let's go.
You do bring up an interesting question of like not only the question of who gets run over in the trolley question, but if I just walk the fuck away and not solve the trolley question, then whose business is it really? Like, do I actually mutually have to pull the lever, or can I just walk the fuck away and just let the problem solve itself?
I'm struggling with yours more than any of the other ones. Just sort of conceptualizing how that fits in a game. I would love for you to just like keep talking. Just do more brain.
I mean, it's a fun idea, but I think you have to have a plot resolution of some form.
Yeah, like that. I think that's really the issue. I think that's the problem I'm running into. Is like, we can ask those questions all day, but like, it really depends on what it is that you actually want to do. Like I think that's really what it is you've described half of a game. You've described the setting that has been presented to you and the call to action, and you've described saying no to that call to action, but you haven't described what you do instead. I think that's why I'm getting confused.
Wander around Skyrim instead of becoming the Dragonborn.
Right. Yeah. Like I don't know how that.
That's it.
Yeah. Like I don't know how that turns into an RPG. I don't know how is that a narrative.
Right.
What does that look like to you? You've told me the things you don't want to do, or the things that you'd love to reject doing. You know what I mean? So
no, like the option of that rejection. Like, yeah, I'm called to link the flame. Okay, I can work towards that, or maybe I take the flame for myself or something. I don't know. And being given the choice of doing one or the other.
Okay.
Like Bayless is talking about ending the undead curse. What if we find the means to do that and somebody decides, you know what? Let's, instead of turning it down, we turn it up. Everybody's undead now. I don't know.
Okay.
But like just the options of having that big goal, but not necessarily going all the way with it, maybe flipping it on its head.
Okay. So what I'm hearing now is that you would really like to play a game where there are big, impactful story choices.
Sure.
Okay.
Something where there's like multiple ways we can accomplish a goal, or where maybe we can discover that there's another thing we can do with said.
It sounds less like he's concerned about paths to the goal and more about choosing a different goal. So instead of like, just because you mentioned Skyrim, instead of choosing, to go along this quest line and then eventually you get to Alduin and you kill him, or go along this quest line and you get to Alduin and you kill him. It's like, okay, well, but those are just two different paths to the same goal.
Sure.
They're two different stories that I could have taken, but they end up with the same thing. It sounds like, Mike, what you're describing is I get to Grey Peak Mountain, or whatever the fuck it's called, and then I tell the Greybeards to go fuck themselves. I reject my dragonbornness, and the world can die for all I care. And you want that to be a meaningful story choice that you can actually meaningfully make.
Yeah.
Okay.
So multiple endings as opposed to an unlocked secret ending.
Yeah. Talking about the selfishness again. Like, I don't want to link the flame. I want to read my books or whatever. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. All right. So we are 2 hours into our game. So I think now is a good time to take a break. I desperately need to pee. And I think we've all said a lot that we need to sort of chew on. So I think a break is great. Just sort of think about everything that's been said and just sort of imagine what this game is going to look like. And then when we get back, we will sort of, I guess, decide on what it is that we're working towards. You know, what goal our initial. It sounds like we need to come up with an initial goal with the expectation that might change. But it's a shared goal that we all have, and then maybe we make some agreements on, like, if the goal changes, we all have to be on board, something like that. So we'll think through all that when we get back, and then once we do that, we can make characters if we have time. If not, we can just make those over the course of the next week. We're all versed in making 5th edition characters. It's not exactly rocket surgery for any of us anymore.
Lot less choices this time.
That's also very true. You got 4 origins to pick from. There are no subclasses to pick. So we're gonna take a break. We'll be back in 5 to 10 minutes, says the timer. But let's be real, it's like 11 to 15. So we'll be back. Welcome back. We're on time for once.
We died.
Always.
You died?
Again?
Do I need to make the you died bigger so it's we died? Hang on, here, I can make it. No, I can't easily make that bigger. That'd be annoying.
There is an I in died, so there's no we in died.
Oh my god.
That was funny.
No, it wasn't. Please go away, Madam Producer Lady. Go
See,
produce
now
from
if-
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So if TPKs are going to be like somewhat normal, should we have just a giant "we died" banner for?
Oh, yeah,
that
absolutely.
covers it?
Yeah, I'm. So my plan, I shit you not, was actually to have a separate scene that just plays the "you died," and I'll just play that, for 3 to 5, however fucking long it takes, every time we TPK. Absolutely, I will set that up.
And you're just gonna have that on a button, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I also planned on having the female dying scream and male dying scream on buttons. So if you guys play a female character, I play the female scream when they die.
That's amazing.
So I also had another question because I was looking
Sure.
through the items. The purging stone?
Okay.
The
You got a page
effects
number?
of hollowing too much. You can use the stone to remove the effects from the hollowing.
Okay.
Is that something someone could use on you? Like, say you roll a 1, you become just completely out there. If someone could actually use that as like a resurrection.
Interesting.
Technically, yes, but given what purging stones are supposed to do, I'd probably say no.
If the effects of hollowing have begun to take their toll, a creature can use the stone to remove an effect from the hollowing effect table. So that's
That is an effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So the reason that's interesting is because some of the effects are positive, and I was assuming when you were describing it that the purging stone would just remove all effects of hollowing. Like, oh, you've got some good, but you've also got a lot of bad, and it's fucking you. So use a purging stone, get rid of it all. But that means that you can spend souls essentially getting permanently better by just deliberately dying over and over until you get some good and bad hollowing effects, and then
Not
purge the
bad
bad
ones.
ones.
Well, and that's, I mean, if they're available. It says it costs 1,000
Sure.
souls to
Yeah.
get one, which is
Yes.
is actually something I keep forgetting. Leveling, is it going to be individual or party based?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's got to be individual because you know, if the group gains a bunch of souls, like it's split evenly amongst the group, and then you go into the next combat, and then Matt fucking dies and loses all his souls, so everyone else just has more than him.
I mean, even not even just losing souls, but souls are both XP and currency.
Yeah.
So if I would
Yeah.
spend all my souls on arrows and everybody else wants to spend their souls on leveling, well, I'm still level 1. I
Yup.
better get a bow.
Yup. Yeah. Very
Do
true.
corpses leave behind souls like they do in the game?
Yes, you will drop a bloodstain when you die. If you get back to that bloodstain, you can recover your souls, but only your own. You cannot steal someone else's souls by killing them.
Except
you can
for
only-
all the people that
Killing
you
them.
do kill and you do take their souls.
Yeah, except for
Right.
every boss that has a lot
Yeah.
of souls.
Yeah. You kill the bad guys and get their souls, but like when each of you die, like you don't like you
Not us
can't-
bad guys.
Yeah. Not you bad guys. Other bad guys.
Okay.
So
Team Rocket.
the
Team Rocket.
for those of you who may not be very familiar with the Dark Souls games, when you die, you leave a bloodstain. That bloodstain contains all of the souls you were carrying before you died. If you die again before collecting that bloodstain, the first one disappears.
Mm-hmm.
You can only have one bloodstain at a time. So if you die with 1,000 souls, there's a 1,000 soul bloodstain. If you collect 500 souls and die again, the 1,000 soul bloodstain disappears, and now there's a 500 soul bloodstain. And these are handled on an individual basis, which means I need to keep track of where all of your bloodstains are at all times.
Is this a mechanic in the system, or is this something you're making based off of the game?
This is a mechanic. Actually, I think in the system, you just lose your souls. Go fuck yourself.
Lame.
Yeah, so I was like, well, that's dumb. Just make a fucking bloodstain. Like, come on, bro. Great. The thing is, in the system, the ease with which you can get back to your bloodstain is significantly greater than in the video game, because just because you died doesn't mean all the enemies reset as long as the party didn't die.
Yeah.
So you can just run back through and get to your bloodstain as long as the party prevailed after your death.
Yeah.
And I think that's the intent, is like, oh, well, we want to punish people in that scenario. Now that I'm thinking about it.
The group death is kind of considered the player death, because that's when everything resets, right? So to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And you run your biggest risk.
Well, so here's the thing. The interesting thing about the rules as written is that enemies don't respawn in this game. The book doesn't say anything about enemies respawning.
That's dumb.
It is dumb. All of your fucking enemies are undead. They can't die.
Yeah.
So
Kind of like an always known thing about Dark Souls. Well, in most FromSoft games.
right. Not Armored Core though. That one does not have respawning enemies.
No, but I found it very humorous that the newest Armored Core trailer starts with wanting to reignite the flame.
Yeah, I think that was just them dicking with you. They're like, "Oh my god, it's another Dark Souls." No, we're making Armored Core 6. Go fuck it.
Yeah.
I am actually excited for Armored Core 6. Hilariously,
I've never played an Armored Core game.
I played an Armored Core demo on the PlayStation. And that's it.
I caved. I bought that on PS3.
Oh my god.
The controls are terrible.
Oh no.
Was that the one that had like the big, like you could spend $200 for the whole goddamn control panel thing? Was that game or was that another game?
No, I think that was a computer.
I think it's Mech Warrior.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Dark Souls. So did anyone have any sort of revelatory thoughts on the break? Any additional insights into what it was that you wanted to play?
Only
cool.
Only that I wanted to clarify that, like, I don't need a happy ending to have an enjoyable game. I do want to clarify.
Okay.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if we don't have a, Disney ending, all of the robots are turned back into, animal
Flickies.
critters, I'm okay.
Hmm.
Flickies. Thank you.
Truthfully, I'm not really expecting a yay, happy, sunshine, everything's great. Not really expecting that with Dark Souls.
Yeah. I mean, Sunshine, Dark Souls.
I mean, there is that one guy that's pretty hype about it.
Yeah, and then he goes hollow because he found the fucking.
Good job, him.
He found the sun, and then he went hollow.
I just know that
Where's
from
the
the YouTube videos.
If only I could be so grossly incandescent. I feel like that behooves me, Bayless, to ask you for a second. I would really love to play a game where, because I don't think that there's any way that I can guarantee that that'll happen, and I would love for you to ask for something that I can guarantee will happen.
What everybody else said.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I wanted to clarify that, like, yes, I pitched that, like, it'd be really cool to have a game that ends in sunshine and rainbows, but a significant resolution that's, like, actually... I guess my point was more so I would like a, like, significant resolution.
Okay.
Not just, like, we stopped the dragon and it didn't attack anymore. Like, I would kind of want it to be, like, a, like...
Okay.
We did the fucking thing that we wanted to do.
But
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily feel good.
Okay.
I'm okay if it doesn't feel like a Disney ending. Yes.
Okay. So
yeah,
there's this adage that is just sort of coming to me as you're talking about this that it's actually hilarious because there's two competing adages. One is that happily ever after only lasts until one of the people involved dies. Because if you watch a story long enough, it's gonna end in death.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't actually apply here because you're all undead. So that's not true. So the opposing adage is true. If the ending isn't happy, it's not the ending. So that's kind of sort of that's the impression that I get from what you're saying is that if I'm not happy, then the story's not over. I want to keep telling the story until I'm happy. Even if it's not a happy ending, it has to feel like an ending.
Yes. Yeah. Like, it definitely needs to be like a fucking resolution.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That I can promise.
Yeah. No, I mostly wanted to just go back and say that, like, I know I said I wanted happiness and sunshine and rainbows. I'm okay if there's not, so long as there's a fucking button on the end of this.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I feel a lot better about that. So, given what you've all told me, you want a game that has significant moral choices where you have to choose between doing what you want and doing, I don't know, a good thing, I guess. You want a game where your choices meaningfully impact what the ending is. You want a game where there is a solid ending. And you want a game where most of the time when you get to those choices and you have to decide between what you want and the right thing, you pick what you want. And you're not punished for that. Did I miss anything? Oh, and you want a game, you want a game where there are things to explore and history to be learned and just a new environment that you can interact with in novel ways.
A mildly unadulterated roleplay experience, in essence. Like,
yeah. Okay. So, I guess the question is then, what's the good thing And what's the thing you want to do? Like what are these competing goals? Are the good things just speed bumps along the way, along the path of, you know, what you really want to be doing? Or are these two competing goals, and the harder you work towards one, the more difficult it is to do the other? What kind of a shape for the story do we want? Do we want it to be this sort of struggle between the two, or is it just go one way and, you know, occasionally we have to go, oh well, do I want to go out of my way? You know, is it I'm struggling to describe the shapes of these, but basically,
I mean, that's a pretty interesting, because that kind of goes with the adage of like more than one way to skin a cat. Like it, you know, you've got that element of like, if I go the good path, I can resolve something, but if I go the selfish path, I can still resolve it. You know, like it's kind of, they both reach an end and maybe not the same end, kind of, right? You know, like what Mike was saying.
Yeah, so I'm imagining if this is a story of like a Jacob's Ladder kind of shape, where the two paths are just diverging, and at any point you can just hop to the other one, but the further along you get on the path, the further away the other one is. Or is it a story where you're predominantly just moving along one path, and at any time you can divert? At any time you can just, there's forks in this road, and you can just change. And I basically, I guess what I'm asking is, does doing the selfish thing make it harder to do the right thing? And that's not a moral question. That's not a philosophical question. I'm asking what kind of story you want. Do you want a story where continuing to do the selfish thing makes it harder to do the good thing? Because if that is the story that we play, then it gets more and more obvious that you're just going to keep doing the selfish thing, because it's just harder and harder to do the good thing. Fuck that.
Unless,
it's just
unless the good thing proves to be better.
Yeah. Maybe the more selfish we get, the harder it is to do the right thing, but the more obvious it is that the right thing is the right thing.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
That sounds dope.
So there's obvious benefits to there's current payoff, like the current payoff to selfish is bigger than the long run payoff to doing or you know what I mean, like I guess the payoff to, you know, the right thing is the long term, but the payoff to being selfish is the now, you know. Right. So it's kind of that weight of like, well, we could potentially do the good thing, but if I kill this motherfucker right now, I get souls and I get experience. I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So I do think that we should sort of collectively agree on. Actually, before I get too far, Nathan, you've been quiet for a while, and I'm wondering what you're thinking.
Me too.
Oh, okay.
I've kind of been like, I like the idea of like a power struggle within one, like the characters, the party, between what's like the good and the bad.
Right.
An idea popped into my head of like, we kind of were playing around with the idea earlier of like, what if we can reverse the undeath? And then the other part, the more selfish part, is like, or what if we keep everything in place and become more powerful in it, but the expense of that is we get further and further away from like being able to reverse undeath, or some other detriment to the larger world through our selfishness, or like grab for power rather, kind of a thing. It doesn't have to be exactly that, but that was like the idea that kind of popped into my head.
Okay. Yeah, I actually really like that idea. So yeah, so I mean, Nathan basically just picked, the right thing and the selfish thing. The right thing being reversing the curse of what was it? Curse of the Undead? The Undead Curse. It's just called the Undead Curse. Reversing the Undead Curse versus, hey, I could just keep getting more powerful and collecting comforts and making my world better. The rest of the world be damned. But the more you do that, the more difficult it becomes to reverse the Undead Curse. And I can think of some pretty compelling ways for that to be true within this cosmology. That the more you strive towards selfishness, the more difficult it becomes to reverse this. Anyone have thoughts about that?
Sounds cool.
I think still of having the hook in there though of like reversing the curse is definitely the good option. Like that is what the best outcome would be of having the draw, so it doesn't just turn into, well, we're just going to do the selfish thing because that's easy, so let's just go this way. But still having that draw towards the good side of being like, but this is like going to be really good.
Right.
This is good right now.
Right.
Of continuing to have that conflict as everything progresses, so it doesn't just turn into a one-sided, let's just go this way.
So yeah, so you would caution against making the selfish course of action too enticing. Like it's indulgent. It's not. It should become clearer and clearer that ending the undead curse would be a hell of a lot better than this garbage. Like the garbage that you're collecting.
Yeah, or similarly having something through reversing the undead curse that would be good for us. Like a person, a place, a thing, a group that we miss from that we want to rejoin again that we're unable to because of the undead curse. Kind of a thing, maybe.
A school of wizards or a group of knights that you once belonged to that you could go back to if you strove for this.
Yeah, returning to that humanity that we had if we do the right thing. Or lose yourself to the selfishness and essentially become the things you've been fighting.
Reminders of your former humanity.
Yeah. Meanwhile, becoming more and more hollowed.
Like the good path is obviously the one that will pay off best later.
Right.
It's struggling with that enticement of this benefits me now, that might benefit me later.
Yeah.
Or even I know it will benefit me later.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the coolest part of all of this is that I, the DM, can gauge how you're feeling about them both. And then as soon as you decide that doing the right thing is what you want to do, I just start dropping all these immediate term gains of just being on top of the trash heap.
Yep.
It
offer us a selfish reward of a piece of gear or something. It's like if we just keep being selfish.
Oh, you guys going down the right path. There's something shiny over there.
Yeah, like as much as not to pull the player thing of like putting a lot of responsibility on the DM on top of how much he already has, but like definitely like giving you the play to toy us one direction or the other would be very fun as a player. Like knowing that you're gaining, leading us down a path, but maybe we don't specifically know which one that is.
Right. Yeah. So
you're just kind of redirecting us unknowingly.
So my idea was that there's basically like this cone of story that exists, and you start at the very bottom, and you can head in either direction, but then the further you go in one direction, the harder it gets to go to the other direction. And I was like, oh, okay, you're just going to go one direction for a while and then go, ah, shit, maybe we should switch, and then hop to the other one. But now I'm actually thinking that you guys are going to kind of meander up the middle, and eventually you're going to have to pick a side.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Eventually that middle's gonna run out.
Yeah.
That cinder block in the median's gonna come up, and we're gonna have to pick a lane.
Yeah.
Exit or stay on.
Well,
Exit or stay on.
No. You just stop dead in the middle of the interstate. You back up.
Right.
Yeah, that's the right way to do things.
Yeah. I missed that exit. Let me put my car in reverse.
Yep. But yeah, no, like now I'm imagining maybe there is actually a middle path too, you know, and maybe that happens to be the ending that Bayless hates, because it's not really a resolution.
Yeah, it's unresolved. It just is.
Morality is shades of gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
It's the 3 Mass Effect endings that everybody thought they were gonna get.
Oh my god.
Red, green, and blue. I've never played that game because it came out and I just heard horrible reviews, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm not touching it.
I played all 3 of them. I will say I didn't realize it was bad until I realized what the other ones were. Like when I played the game, I was just like, okay.
That was the ending I picked.
Yeah, it wasn't until people were like, oh, the other 2 endings are the same thing. They're just like mildly different. Then I was just like, okay, I get it. Sure. But like, I got to resolve. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I got my red.
Yeah. I picked blue, green. Actually. Yeah, no, a story is definitely forming. So the actual, like, not mechanics, but there's got to be like intermediate steps. Like, how do we reverse undeath? Is this a thing that people know how to do, and just no one has had the humanity to do it? No one has felt so strongly about their fellow undead? Or is it something that you need to dig through secrets for? Is it something that you need to really get to the bottom of what this undead curse is? Or is it somewhere in between, that there is a well-known path that no one has trod before, and then you trod that path and find that it's a fake? You know, what sounds fun?
I think that depends on how old the world is. Like, the more time passes, the more eventual good people there would be to try to solve the undead curse. And the undead curse happened. There was some impetus for it. Somebody eventually is gonna think, "What the hell? I'm gonna go figure that out."
Sure.
Eventually. Are we before that? Are we the first to do that? Are we well after that? I don't know.
I mean, that's something we can decide.
Yeah.
You know, would you rather it be a search for knowledge, or would you rather it be a glorious quest that you're ambivalent as to how glorious it really is?
You said something that, like, and I apologize for always being a person that says something. You said something that kind of gave me an idea. Like, what if it's both? Like, maybe there was a trying to understand how it's done, but maybe there is also something to being the one powerful enough to do it. You know, maybe there is a actual number of souls requirement to doing the thing, or amount of humanity requirement to doing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where, like, sure, you might have ascertained the wisdom of how to do it, but was your character enough to actually do the fucking thing?
Or not even if you have the strength, but what if there is another moral gray in the middle of doing that? What if there is a huge repercussion for having to do it? I like the idea of searching for something though, and then
Mhm.
like finding that out for ourselves. I feel like as a
Or the-
player, that'd be really fun to explore.
Or the ending of like how it's resolved is based on you as a person. You didn't even actively choose it, you know. So maybe if you became this horrible person, the horrible thing persisted, you know, because you weren't a good enough character to want the good ending, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's not a conscious decision. It's based on your morality. You know, the resolution is judging you and determining how to move forward from there. So the people that knew how to resolve it, maybe they weren't a good enough character to move the thing forward. You know, or morality, I mean, excuse me.
Kind of like like the dilemma where the people best fit to lead are the people who don't want to. That kind of thing.
That's what I'm thinking. One of those things of like, you know, maybe there were people that tried to do it before, but they were not of good enough, you know, decency. So it just never happened.
And then maybe we're not actively searching for the answer to this. We're just stumbling across the information.
Okay.
That leads us to, because if you're actively searching and then you're going with the same metaphor of the people who should lead are the ones that don't want to, then we are the ones that want to do this.
Yeah. And are not fit.
So for through whatever actions we're doing, we're just stumbling across, oh, this is one of the bits of information for how we can do the thing. Oh, like here's another bit of information for how we can do the thing, and just slowly gain the knowledge of how to do it.
Basically
Accidentally.
start on the path, and by the time we realize the direction we're going, it's too late to turn back. Or it's we've already gone this far, we might as well keep pushing forward.
We have like 8 of the 10 things that we need, so why not just get the other 2?
Whew. I have a lot to think about. It sounds like we have a story.
Hell yeah.
I've got this huge cone, and you know I feel like I get to sort of pick which direction you head off at the beginning, and then from there it's you decide. What do you want to do? Do you want to what path do you want to take? I'm
personally okay with you teasing the 2 directions. Like I'm not going to speak for the rest of the team, obviously, but like I'm definitely okay with being kind of unknowingly led one way or the other. If you feel like we're going way too selfless and you want to tease us selfish, you know, like
right. I think for the beginning, it's probably gonna be selfish. I really like the idea of just sort of discovering what it is that you need to do. Because if you just knew what it was to do, then you're making the same decision every step of the way. Do I want to keep doing what I'm doing, or do I want to just help myself? Do I want to keep doing what I'm doing, or do I want to help myself? So I feel like it doesn't get more interesting if you're not slowly unfolding things. The only real way that I could slowly unfold things is if you know exactly what it entails, but not the ramifications thereof. But I feel like there's only so much design space for me to build there. So it's like, So yeah, no, I like the idea of it just slowly unfolding. That there is, number one, that there is a calling, and number two, what that calling asks you to do, and number three, specifically what it asks you to do, and number four, what it asks you to do next, and then so on and so forth. And at every step of the way, you get to decide, is it worth it? Or You just ignore the first call until it gets more and more potent, more poignant. Like, hey, just these successive calls to adventure. All the while, you have this single-minded, selfish goal. And Nathan kind of touched on it, and that selfish goal was, we just collect power for ourselves. What does that look like? What does that look like to you? Collecting souls? Leveling up? Becoming physically more mighty? Collecting knowledge? Collecting followers? Creating a kingdom? What does that look like to you?
My initial thought is like creating a kingdom or / followers. Like getting the people, amassing the power to have the strength to crush anyone who would oppose us, kind of a thing. And rule over. That's my initial thought.
Okay. How about everyone else? What was your conception?
Agreed.
Okay.
I think that would be a good long-term goal, is getting followers, but initially that would mean collecting souls and like grinding, so to speak, so you can gather souls to get equipment and level up and make yourself stronger in order to persuade people to follow you.
Becoming unstoppable kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think definitely the kingdom type thing, basically being the head honcho type guy.
And then we run into the issue where we have 5 head honchos.
I mean, that's just a quintumvirate.
Yeah, we make a kingdom with 5 sections.
Yeah.
Each get a section.
Quintumvirate is a word.
Cool.
No.
Look.
Get fucked.
No.
Look, if Batman's
it's a
rogue gallery
quincavirate. Quincavirate.
I hate it.
I don't know what. Seems
what
weird.
Language is that from?
Latin.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
An official group of 5 people, especially a council of 5 men sharing office or rule. It's the same root as a duumvirate or a triumvirate.
Yeah.
Just 5. Yeah. Mike, what was your conception of the selfish goal? I have everyone else here.
The concept that I've been brainstorming was somebody trying to amass knowledge for the sake of making new magic.
Okay.
So there's sorceries, pyromancies, miracles. A 4th one.
Pyro miracles.
Pyro miracle. So fun fact, there are actually in later games fire sorceries. So like that's kind of a thing.
You talking about the dark sorceries?
No, so that's a thing too. There's dark pyromancy. But there's fire sorcery in, I think it's in Dark Souls 3. I don't know, whatever. But there's okay. Basically trying to not just be the biggest, baddest badass, but actually trying to affect the world in a way where you make something no one else has.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to win the arms race?
Yes. I want to make the biggest stick.
Yeah. Win the arms race, make the biggest stick. Got it. I am actually writing this shit down. I have a lot written.
Yep.
How many characters? Only 4,300 characters.
That's all.
Mike's in-game loot is a big stick.
Yes.
Great club.
Let me just give you the Isolith staff. It's 8 feet long.
Hell yeah.
I shit you not. That staff is hilariously long. It clips through everything.
Perfect.
Okay. So I think we've got an idea. So then the question is, how do we start? Because that's gonna affect like how you build your characters to know one another. How do we start this game? Are you, do we do like a Dark Souls 3 thing where you all wake up in a graveyard and you have to fight past a judge who decides whether you are worthy of leaving the graveyard? Do we? I mean, I guess technically Dark Souls 1 has basically the same thing with the Asylum Demon. Pretty much. It's just way more literal. It's just way more literal with Dark Souls 3 because the dude's name is Iudex, which is Latin for judge.
I think the implication is a little bit different. In 1, it's more of a prison.
Yeah,
3,
the Asylum Demon is a warden, not a judge. But like
you're literally thrown in a fucking jail cell to start.
You are thrown in a jail cell. Yes. Actually, you wake up in a jail cell, and then
no, you're thrown in there.
No, Oscar throws the corpse that has the key that gets you out.
You're right. Yep, you're right. Yep. Is that Oscar?
That's Oscar.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Jordan.
Anyway, so yeah, how does this game start? What does it look like? Do you just wake up together in a cathedral and you know nothing about one another? Is there sort of an inciting incident where some creature of some variety or some force comes and wipes out a bunch of undead and you're the only one spared? Is permanent death a thing? Is it a thing you've ever heard of?
An inciting incident begs the question of, is there downtime? And what were we doing in our downtime? And that doesn't feel like a thing that happens in this world.
I feel like everything is downtime in this world.
Yeah. Like everything is just in a constant state of decay.
Yeah.
And
just very, very happening. Slow decay.
I guess I have a hard time picturing at Dark Souls, we were all in a tavern and we got a job request.
Oh no, you're not in a tavern.
Yeah.
You're sitting in some sepulcher or forgotten room staring at the walls, thinking about who you once were.
What if we're all awakened, enlightened, whatever, by that big goal we're talking about? Curing undeath or something.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like that. Like we're all
just nothings in a room, and the 5 of us are like, wait a minute.
Yeah, like basically
something strikes us.
Yeah.
Fully hollow, just standing in a room, and then all of a sudden there's a spark, and it's like, oh wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can think.
Some kind of force that pulls us back from being fully hollowed or something.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which starts the idea of, wait a minute, is there a way to push this farther?
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's really good.
Okay.
We got pulled from the brink. Can it go further? Yeah.
Yeah, like 5 of us got picked. Can everybody else?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we completely reverse this to life.
You play between, can we help others with this, or how do we accumulate this power?
Yeah.
How do I avoid ever being there again?
Yeah.
How can I be the one to decide who gets to become less hollowed?
Can we pick and choose whether this gets everybody else or not?
Can I fill this in a bottle and keep it in my back pocket?
Yeah.
I like all these ideas.
Could we then, like, given that, could we all 5 be in separate places, brought together to, like, I mean, do you want to lead like 5 individual lead ups to a single point? Or do you want to just start at that single point where we all 5 happen to meet?
Sounds like a lot of work for Ian.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like it'd be cool as hell, but that'd be tough.
Not a long campaign by any stretch, but just like a, summation of like, what did you do? Where were you? Now you're here.
Got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be easy if, that'd be real easy for all of us. If we can decide on, does this affect this force that pulls you back from the brink give you anything other than just your mind back? Does it give you a drive? Does it give you information? Does it tell you where to start? Because if it does, it can just say, hey, go to this fucking place, you goddamn moron, and you all end up there.
I mean, I feel like on principle, if like we're playing with the idea that it like pulls you from the edge of Hollow, like Hollow's the equivalent of like zombie, right? Like you're mindless, you're just like I feel like that on its own is enough to go like, why the fuck am I conscious again? Like I need to go either to a repository of information to figure this out, where we all conveniently go, or we get some calling that says you've been awoken because we've been specifically chosen. If you want to go that route, meet here.
Yeah.
To begin your journey.
Then it also bring up the question though: was it just us?
Right.
Was there anyone else? Is everyone working towards the same end, or is there others that were awoken or brought back that are going to be working against us?
But it also begs the question of are we 5 people randomly, or are we 5 specific people?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a race to see who can get that power first? So we need to move quickly to get it for ourselves.
Ooh.
We don't know.
Maybe we weren't the only 5 people woke and to do this thing, but we're the 5 that decided that we can all agree on a commonality and go after it. There might be other people in the background trying to do this too.
Ooh.
That could put a time pressure on it so that you guys don't just farm encounters forever.
And also tease our selfishness by wanting to maybe kill those other people that are going after it, so we 5 are the only ones that get there.
It would also justify there being at least some level of beaten path for us to take, at least to start. Like, oh yeah, we are the 70th through 74th guys that got this calling. Everyone before us fucking bid it, but they made some progress we can sort of follow.
But maybe we didn't fully know that. We discover more about their path as we progress.
Right.
Right. Yeah, we see the part of the trail that's more cleaned out, and we go, well, that's obviously something.
Yeah.
Which actually is leads up to another question, because you said there are bloodstains in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Are there going to be like other ones where it's like door ahead?
There's a path here, I promise.
Are there notes? Do we get to watch how other people died? Are there invaders?
Yeah, they're called unfriendly summons.
There are summons.
Bloodstain at a cliff just says leap of faith.
Treasure ahead, try jumping.
Okay. So I think it's safe to say, let's assume that there's some indication, whether it's the, whatever woke you up, pulling you in a direction, or you just start wandering and every sign points towards, or literally like there's a line of people walking in a direction and you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever the case, you come together. Like I'm even imagining like there's a line of groups of 5 people, and you just file into the line and look to your left and look to your right and go, okay. Like the kind of like groggy half thought that you have when your alarm goes off and you're trying to decide if it's worth going to work today.
I really need this job.
Yeah.
Or because you asked about the idea of going like Dark Souls 3, what if we've reached that little center point and there's the corpse of 5 people, aka the classes that we pick. There's our gear, right? Like there's 5 people that have clearly died before us. We all grab our shit, Gundyr wakes up and now, we're on our whatever journey, like there's the 5 people that tried to do this before us. They didn't make it. Are we going to continue anyways?
Yeah.
Those were the first 5, died 5 steps in.
Yeah.
Or they died and then died and then died and then died.
Yeah.
And then went hollow.
Yeah.
5
We're
steps
just
in.
picking up their remains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I dig it. I dig
Yeah,
it.
I'm not a big fan of the like giant pile of groups of 5 or whatever, because that makes it, I think, too explicitly clear that we're not the only ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think not knowing if we're the only ones is a lot
Okay.
more significant.
Sure. But there's a pile of corpses here.
Sure.
They gave up. Like they're not even dead. They're undead. They're just laying there on the ground, not breathing, not looking at you, staring off into the distance, wearing gear. And you just got out of a grave. You're wearing a burial shroud.
Mm.
And you're going to need some armor.
Yeah.
But
so you just pull it off this living corpse.
To Mike's point, I like knowing that, like, or not knowing that the NPC I'm talking to might be somebody else who's going after the same thing we're going after.
Right.
You know, we don't know if they were called forward in the same way that we were or not.
Or are they going to kick us off a cliff?
Right. Are they going after the same thing we're going after, and they're waiting for us to turn our backs? We don't know that. I like that element. There's that little bit of Dark Souls that is the shit that you don't know that is nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's more interesting not to know whether the NPC you just met is after the same thing you're after because it was awoken by the same whatever, or if they just haven't gone hollow yet.
Right. Personally.
I think, yeah.
I mean, because I can imagine there could be some that get this call, just completely fucking ignore it and do their own thing. Avoid hollow that way.
And maybe they're a sadistic fuck and they want to kill you just because you are going after it.
Murder is motivation.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying literally everything. There were I'm so fucking jazzed for this. All right. So we've got a story. I've got an opening text crawl to write for next week. And now we need characters.
Dibs on Sorcerer.
Okay. Did you guys want to just like start off by like saying this is generally what I wanted to build, just so we don't end up with 3 mercenaries?
Sure.
I had looked at Mercenary significantly and was planning on going heavy armor. Like how high can I get my AC sort of build?
Is there fat rolling in this?
No, actually.
And also there is an ultra great sword that is heavy and not two-handed.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say that if you wear armor that you lack the strength requirement for, it counts as being not proficient, which means disadvantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws that require strength or dex. So you can wear it, but you fat roll.
I like it.
And then weapons, if you're not. Ooh. We lost Matt for a second. I got rearrange. All right. He's good. He's back. We're good.
Yep.
We're good. Sorry about that.
I don't like my internet didn't even show an interruption.
It just gone and then came back.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fast enough to only affect Zoom.
Fuck. All right. So Mike wants Sorcerer. Jordan wants Mercenary. Anyone else? Have you read through the classes and saw one that piqued your interest?
I was thinking maybe assassin. I was kind of thinking dexterity, stabby,
Okay.
and I think assassin's best for that.
Yeah, I mean they are the class that gets sneak attack. What the hell does thief get? Like, what is thief's defining thing?
Unnoticed and useful.
What does thief get? Shafted.
I mean,
it gets cunning action, so it gets a bonus action.
It does get a bonus action. Colossus Slayer? That's a ranger feature. That's a hunter ranger feature.
It's the bow type thief.
But it also has deadly aim, which is super limiting. You can deal an extra 1d6 damage to one creature you hit with a ranged attack if you have not moved or made a melee attack in the previous turn. So you have to just stand still and shoot to keep getting that. And then like your deadly aim damage goes up at the same rate as sneak attack. But it's just you get it differently. You get it as a so thief is the ranged class. Assassin seems to be the generalist melee rogue.
Range rogue versus melee rogue.
Yeah, except that assassin can use a ranged weapon and it's just sneak attack. Like it's literally just sneak attack. It works for finesse and ranged weapons. And you can just have a sneak attack buddy. So like assassin is just a better thief. He does the same thing as me, but better. Fuck. Oh, but at level 7 you get move and fire, which doesn't help your deadly aim.
Because you still
level 20, you get the you can do whatever you want, basically.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, level 20. You get to ignore the no movement. Anyway, so Matt, you said you wanted to be an assassin?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
All right. Bayless?
On that note, I was looking at thief.
I'm actually curious if anyone was looking at deprived, like legitimately. Deprived seems the best.
I thought about doing it for the meme, playing a thief and being Patches.
Okay.
But
God.
That was initially. Now we've come up with an interesting story, and I kind of want to like play with the story a lot more and be a legitimate character
and not kick people off of ledges.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have a question about the deprived.
Sure.
I know we have talked,
at
just
length,
the two of us, about some of the weird builds you could do with the deprived.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? Taking, I don't know, the Mercenary's extra attack feature, level 18.
Yeah. On the one hand, I want to say that there's no way that works. On the other hand, I don't know that it fucking matters. I don't know if this game's going to level 18, to be entirely honest with you.
It's not janky, Shadows. You take that back.
Here's the like. So for those of you who don't know, at level 18, Deprived gets a class feature that just says choose one 18th level ability from any class. Meanwhile, the Mercenary at level 18 gets extra attacks. But it doesn't actually like get it at 18. Extra attacks just gets better at 18 because they get extra attacks at 5, and then it increases to 3 attacks at level 9, to 4 attacks at level 13, and to 5 attacks at level 18.
Wow.
So Jordan's question is, do I get 5 attacks when I hit Deprived 18 because I can take Mercenary 18?
Deprived is also the only class that gives you your choice of 2 saving throw proficiencies.
It gives you 2 strong saves because why would you pick a weak save?
Yeah.
I mean, it sure seems like extra attack is supposed to be +1 for each of the extra attack levels. So you pick an extra attack feature, you get +1.
Right. Yeah, it seems
fun then.
It seems like that's how all the extra attack features in this game work. Is like each extra attack feature gives you 1 additional attack. Except there is, except who?
Except for Deprived.
Sure. No, I think there is actually a class. I think it's the Herald. Is it the Herald? Nope. Not the Herald. I feel like there was a half-caster class. Is the Herald the only half-caster?
I
think so. Pyromancer, maybe.
No, Pyromancer's a full caster. Full casters determine the amount of casting you get is determined by the number of attunement slots that you get at level, at max level. So Herald only gets 6, whereas the Cleric, Sorcerer, and Pyromancer get 12. The Deprived gets 10 at level 20.
Deprived gets more, but he gets his first later than Herald.
Yes. Yeah, the Deprived follows full caster progression, but 4 levels late. Someone gets an extra attack feature at like level 9. Actually, it might be the Thief. Is it the Thief? Nope. Someone gets an extra attack feature like way late, but it's just jumped to 3 attacks.
Deprived.
At 15.
Wait. Oh.
I said it was deprived.
Fuck. All right.
Yeah. They get 3 at 15, and then at 18 they could pick up 4 or 5 for Mercenary.
Yeah.
Probably 4.
Okay. So I don't think it's that big a deal whether it's 4 or 5 from Mercenary.
You would think that.
I would think that. Is that a meaningful a meaningful enough distinction that it will affect your choice of whether or not to go deprived at this time?
No, I don't know about the other classes to make informed decisions about what to pick. Not like it matters right at this very moment.
Right.
But I also don't know any of the spells. I haven't really looked at any of the spells.
So the interesting thing about deprived is that at level 5 you get to pick your tradition. You get to pick whether you're a sorcerer, a cleric, or a pyromancer, essentially. So you can actually decide based on what spells you guys have found. Because, fun fact, spells are items in this game.
Right.
And if you want to attune the same spell multiple times, you need to have multiple copies of that item. So if you wanna just slam heal into every attunement slot, you need multiple copies of heal. So if you find a bunch of miracles but no one goes cleric, maybe at level 5 you pick miracles as your spellcasting thing. So like that's actually kind of neat about deprived is you can pick later. You don't have to pick immediately. Yeah. Any ideas?
I was personally stuck between warrior or maybe the deprived.
Okay. Of all of the classes, I think it would be the most hilarious if everyone was deprived.
Oh my god.
Like
5 dudes running around naked, bashing shit with clubs.
Yep.
Slowly find shit, create our own characters out of that.
Yeah, like
Oh
you
my
guys
God.
did. Yeah, like you guys didn't find corpses with gear on them. You just found a broken tree and you made plank shields and clubs out of it.
We're really going unga bunga with this shit. Like,
Unga
don't
bunga.
don't even know speech yet. We're just like, stick.
Do spells have bulk or weight? No, they do not. Only armor, weapons, and shields have bulk.
The Bunga and the Slam Squad.
Unga bunga and the Slam Squad.
Wow.
Oh God. And you need to decide every time you are facing an encounter, smash or pass.
Smash, always smash.
This is the player part of the session. I just sit back and listen. Let me unlock my tilt limiter so I can lean back.
I think instead of playing with the meme and being Patches the Thief, I might go Pyromancer.
Okay. So
Because it feels bardish. Because it's charisma based.
okay.
Or I guess that's more Warlock as well. But
Yeah.
because it's melee and casting. So I guess it's kind of
Yeah, they are kind of vaguely melee. which is weird. But like,
That's
Okay,
why I wondered if they were half caster just based off the description I had read of them.
yeah,
Because it does specifically say you're also handy with an axe, so it's not discluding that you can be melee in what you do.
right. I don't know if that description is actually like reflective of the
Sure.
the reality, because they don't get a feature that allows them like a hexblade to use charisma for attack rolls. So like you're using your strength to attack, and like that seems bad. I will say that when I hate that this is true. When I first read this, and I read through all the classes, I read Pyromancer first, and my immediate reaction was that Pyromancer's garbage. So one of the things that's one of the things that is true about full casters in D&D is that at some levels the class features line is blank for a level. And you might look at the Pyromancer and go, oh, at level 6 you don't get a class feature. So clearly there's like new spells that you can get at level 6.
Right.
False.
But this game you find spells.
So
you're not unlocking more.
So you do find spells, but each spell has a level, which is the minimum level you need to be to cast that spell. There are no spells that require level 6. There's a bunch that require level 5. But at level 6 as a Pyromancer, you get literally
Nothing.
fucking shit. And I don't know if that's true about 9, but probably. And I don't know if that's true about 13, but probably. And it's just like, what the fuck, guys?
You should get more attunement on those levels.
At 9 and 13, you get another attunement slot. But like level 6, you get literally nothing. Also level 9, actually 9 and 13, your proficiency bonus goes up as well. But level 6, you get fucking nothing. Your position goes up. Go fuck yourself.
Same for Sorcerer.
I think there's level 6 sorceries though.
Oh, there's a level 6 sorcery.
Yeah. Which one?
Dark Fog.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this is another thing that I will probably rebalance and fix. Can we get up this book sucks? You have my club and my club and my club and my club and my club. Thanks, Shadows. Shadows, isn't it like 3 a.m?
He's off though.
Oh my god.
He's
Perfect time to
relaxing and resting because reasons.
Perfect time to watch Dark Souls.
All right, sure. But yeah, I remember looking at Pyromancer and being wildly underwhelmed. God, I was like underimpressed. No, that's not it. Yeah, that. Don't let me dissuade you, because nothing is written in stone. It's just written in this stupid, like, flimsy paper thing that, I don't know. What do we call these?
Books.
Thanks.
No, that's not right. That can't be right.
Targets for errata.
Yeah. Nothing's written in stone, so we can fix Pyromancer if it's wildly underperforming. So if that's the fantasy you want, we'll make it fucking work. You know what I mean, though? Like,
Yeah. You know me. I also like to find out what everybody else plays and then just fill that gap.
Sure. So we got Sorcerer. Jordan was Mercenary, but now maybe Deprived. Nathan, maybe Warrior, maybe Deprived. Or Knight? Or Warrior?
More.
He said
I
warrior.
had said warrior. I'm
Okay.
just not liking the anti-synergy between
Brute and
background.
Warrior.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not thrilled with it. So I'm probably
mean-
gonna go something melee though.
You could, so Warrior, like, let's be real, Warrior is a barbarian.
Yeah.
You could always be a Dex barbarian and then go Fencer.
what's the warrior's beginning equipment and such.
And fun fact, so actually, Dex Warrior works better than Dex Barbarian. The main reason that Dex Barbarian doesn't work is that the rage damage bonus only applies to strength-based attacks.
Mm-hmm.
That is not true of Cinder Wrath. When you make a melee weapon attack, you gain a bonus to the damage roll equal to your proficiency bonus that increases as you gain levels as a warrior.
They did the thing you do.
They did the thing I did! Wow!
Can we get it? This book doesn't suck?
This book doesn't suck.
I don't think that command was made.
It'll never go above one.
So I have a question. I'm looking at the assassin gear.
Mm-hmm.
They start out with an S stock.
Okay.
Its ability: spend one position to deal an extra 1d3.
Sure.
Who has a 3-sided dice?
You roll a
Foundry.
d6 and divide by 2. Or Foundry.
Foundry
Yeah,
does.
Foundry also has a d3. Yeah.
Can't pump that up to a D4.
That may have been a mistake. Can't say. But no, like 1d3 is a thing. In fun fact, in Pathfinder, unarmed strikes deal 1d3 damage. No, wait, I might be thinking of a different game I played recently.
Is that the dice that's more like crystal shaped, where it's like long and
Yeah.
it like kind of rolls on its side?
Uh-huh. What? No, I feel like it wasn't Pathfinder. It was a different RPG I played recently. Though. Oh, it's Call of Cthulhu.
Mm.
Call of Cthulhu on Arm Strike Steel 1d3. Not Pathfinder. I think Pathfinder's d4.
And that other RPG game that you play.
The other RPG game I play. I play a lot of RPG games, don't I?
That you use for Fall of Kings?
Yeah. I have 4 fucking different RPGs. If we count this as different from D&D. But yeah, no, I think a Fencer Warrior could be cool. The only issue is that I'm guessing their starting gear is not particularly conducive to Dex.
and
Battle Axe.
If we're just
The bloodied kind of. I was thinking of trying to be more tanky, but Fencer wouldn't really work with that as much.
True.
Because you get a +3 with brute. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna brainstorm a
Okay.
little bit
Okay.
with everything in mind of what everyone else has said.
All right.
I wouldn't say that Brute and Warrior are anti-synergistic with each other. You just have 2 sources of getting advantage on strength checks. That's
Sure.
that's not a bad thing. It's just
Yeah, I mean, it's also checks and saves, which are pretty goddamn rare in the middle of combat.
sure.
Yeah.
So it is the tiniest anti-synergy.
I mean, especially consider rages are not infinite. Meanwhile,
Also,
bloodied,
wait,
you
what
can
the
always be
fuck?
bloodied.
Cinder Wrath gives you resistance to force, acid, poison, and necrotic damage.
Yeah,
That's strange.
yeah,
That is very strange.
yeah.
Why does it last 12 rounds? What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah,
This book sucks.
This is just a little weird in a lot of ways.
It's a little weird.
yeah.
Also, at level 20, instead of getting unlimited, it just goes up to 7.
Yep.
Yep.
Which, let's be real, is fucking unlimited. Like,
Yeah.
when do you need more than 6 rages in a day, unless you're a zealot barbarian and you need to rage infinitely? Like, rage every round of your
Yeah.
entire life. That's my secret cap.
I will say, listening to what everyone else has decided
Understood that
and
reference.
realizing that we're not having anyone lean towards any sort of healing ability whatsoever
Uh-huh.
sounds a little
Well,
Yeah.
Cleric.
I'm looking at Herald and Cleric now too.
I'm looking at
I
if I'm gonna do it, I'm not gonna half-ass it. I'm not gonna go Herald, I'm gonna go Cleric.
I was getting ready to say, well, I guess that chime problem isn't going to come up, but I guess not now. Thanks, Jordan.
I mean,
'Cause-
Jordan is the healer.
Yeah.
You really want to play Mercenary, though.
It literally, like, it was one of the first ones I read, and I kind of latched onto it.
I was looking at Cleric when we first started, and then I was really intrigued by this warrior. But now that the warrior is kind of like, I am always happy to be healer. I like playing support type classes. That's where I get most of my joy from in TTRPGs.
So Cleric or
Just need to
Herald?
look at it all. Yeah.
All right. So interestingly, it seems like your class just grants you a catalyst at level 3. Like, you don't need to find one. I don't know that it gives you any spells, though.
Yeah.
Like, it
Yeah,
gives you
none
the
of it-
catalyst, but you will need to have found a spell by level
Yeah.
3 if you want to actually cast anything.
Do any of the spell classes mention getting spells?
Oh, no.
I don't think they do.
Oh,
Unless I'm missing
no.
it somewhere.
No, at the beginning one, it says you also know 2 miracles for, like, Cleric, Heal, and Force.
Oh, okay.
So for the casters, yeah, you have them.
Okay.
Okay.
I
You
must
also
have missed
know
that
2
then.
miracles, heal and force. Okay. But it does not say that for the Herald. It
Yeah,
just says
the
choose
Herald
a
is like,
talisman
you
or
have-
chime.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Meanwhile, the Cleric starts with the Cleric Sacred Chime and just, yeah, I can heal everybody.
Boop, boop, boop. You get a heal. You get a heal. You all get a heal.
Can I borrow your Estus? I'm feeling a little thirsty after that. Fun fact, you cannot give each other Estus. Fuck you, that's why.
Because fuck you, that's why.
So Mike, I'm assuming firm on Sorcerer still.
Yep.
Okay. What spells does Sorcerer start with?
Soul Arrow.
Soul
Homing
Arrow
Soul
and
Mass.
Homing Soul Mass. That's definitely a starting spell.
Oh yeah, it's just Magic Missile.
It's literally Magic Missile.
Yep.
But with a range of 70 feet. It's Magic Missile. But it has 15 casts.
Yep.
It's kind of dope. Also, Soul Arrow is a bonus action.
Oh shit. I didn't notice that.
Yeah. So your turns are Homing Soul Mass, Soul Arrow. Homing Soul Mass, Soul Arrow. Homing Soul Mass, Soul Arrow.
I can whip out the Mailbreaker. And then Soul
Sure,
Arrow.
you can whip out the Mailbreaker. Mix it up in melee.
The best
Mailbreaker?
idea.
Does the Mailbreaker do anything good?
Probably not.
Let's see. Mailbreaker. Spend 2 position after a successful attack to reduce an enemy's AC by 2 on your next attack against them.
Reduce it by -2.
Yeah, reduce it by -2, which increases it by 2.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also Fast Cast, which I remember being hilarious. At level 13, you get improved Fast Cast,
Which does literally nothing.
which does literally nothing because it says that a spell that costs 3 actions you can do as 2, but there are no 3-action sorceries. None. I don't think there's any 3-action
What?
spells.
No, no.
What?
Yeah.
Yep.
This book sucks. Wah, wah.
You're talking about levels of getting nothing at all, yeah.
Yeah. So Pyromancer gets the same shit though. Like same thing. Again. Yeah, level 14 improved fast cast, but there are no 3-action pyromancies.
So that costs position to use.
Yeah.
Does that preclude you from doing the other things?
You can spend position once per turn.
Ew. almost doesn't seem worth it because a lot of the spells have do shit with position.
Oh. Like what?
Like Great Soul Arrow, increase the number of damage dice, 3 position for another d6 damage.
Hmm. But that only has a 1 action cast time.
Okay, Heavy Soul Arrow, same thing. Actually, more orbs.
Oh my god. That is gross. 5 position to make another 8d6 plus 8 orb?
I mean, look at the Great Heavy Soul Arrow under it.
What the actual fuck? You can make up to 6 orbs
Yep.
for
All dealing.
18d6 per... That's a level 20 spell. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's
it's
fine.
still.
It's fine. It's fine that you can do 80d6 damage by casting for 2 rounds. 80d6.
Still not as good as Great Magic Weapon, though.
Yeah, I mean, great magic weapon. Yeah, put that on a mercenary sword. Here, just have
Yep.
8d6 piercing or slashing on every attack. Go.
Yep.
Have fun.
For 3 minutes.
No, fuck that. And, spend 10 position, make it 13 minutes.
Sure.
God.
And it's not concentration, so do it to everybody.
Yeah, cast on. Yeah, you got 6 casts. Put it on your fucking mail breaker.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think this game's gonna fall the fuck apart at high levels, but maybe for a few levels it'll be okay. What level's Great Heavy Soul or Great Magic Weapon?
13.
13. Okay, I gotta end the campaign by level 12. Got it.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious how it's going to go with the critical attacks, especially like with the sneak attack.
Hmm.
Because I get, so the assassin armor gives me an extra d6 basically to sneak attack,
Cool.
and then leveling up, getting that higher, and then what was it? And then like assassinate.
Mhm.
You know, go before the guys and you hit,
Right.
it's automatically a crit.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, first round of combat, I go before them, attack, spend a ton of position, and just
And
massive
just
damage.
one shot them. Yeah. Yeah. So I will say that generally will not work on bosses, because if you remember how I described earlier that every enemy has an initiative DC that you have to beat to go before it, bosses have an initiative DC of always goes first.
That's a good DC.
I shit you not. Like, if it were me writing this book, I would have put an infinity there. But honestly, if it were me, I probably would have put a 50. Just 50. It's like, if you stack your initiative high enough and you get a plus 30, you know what? You deserve to go before the boss. You deserve it.
That's fair.
But
Very
yeah,
fair of you.
but yeah, bosses have always acts first. So you won't get to assassinate them. But you can still sneak attack the shit out of them and spend a butt ton of position. And then if someone gives you an auto crit, you just fucking crit them anyway.
I got another question about position.
Sure.
So fast cast costs position.
Yep.
That precludes boosting the spells with position.
Correct.
The spells sometimes cost position. Does using fast cast not work on those spells? Because no spell with 2 actions is free.
Oh.
So
that sounds like an oversight. So I would say, just from a purely what the actual fuck standpoint, that spending the position on the fast cast is part of the same. Let me reread the position rules real quick. You may only spend position once per turn. My initial thought is that spending position on the spell and spending position on casting the spell quicker is the same position spend.
Okay.
But then with that in mind, is spending position on making that same spell bigger not also the same position spend?
Bigger, how would like just doing the generic damage increase?
Doing the thing that the spell allows you to do by casting bigger. Because if not, then it's impossible to spend the 5 extra position to get an extra orb on Heavy Soul Arrow, because you've already spent 1 position to cast it.
Yeah.
On this turn. This book sucks. I'm also kind of just wondering if the limitation of only spending it once per turn is meaningful anyway. Like, if you want to fucking murder yourself to go balls to the wall, why not? You know?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Like, it's limited anyway. Most things you can spend position on, they have some upper cap.
Right.
And there's always the cap of your literal fucking life.
Right. Yeah, I don't think we need the rule of 1 position spend per turn. Because clearly several things in the game just don't fucking work with that rule in place.
Right.
Yeah, the only thing I could see is if there's ways to get around spending position. Because I know, was it Fencer? Their bloodied state is, position costs are 1 less for attacks or something like that.
Their melee weapon position spends. So anything their weapons do extra would be cheaper.
Yeah, but I don't know. I haven't looked at the other items. If there's a way, like if there would be a way to build your character to the point of I can do 1 of everything without actually having to spend anything.
Yeah.
And then stacking it that way. But like I said, I didn't really look at the items. I'm just seeing that.
I wouldn't know. But yeah, I don't think we need the once per turn limit on position spends. I given everything I've seen thus far, it seems kind of fucking silly for that to be there.
Yeah, it's not a reaction. You don't have infinite of them. They do run out.
Yeah.
So just like fucking Fireball, Quicken Fireball, yeah, you can blow your entire load and then you're drained.
Right, and mainly the problem with Fireball, Quicken Fireball is that one of your characters can do that, and no one else can do it because no one else is a sorcerer. So that sorcerer gets to just fucking Nova sometimes, and no one else has that capability. Everyone can spend position.
Yeah.
Everyone can burn position to make every one of their attacks hit, and they can burn position to make every one of their attacks deal more damage if they want to.
Yep.
Honestly, I wonder if it's not a terrible idea for everyone in the fast group to just burn all of your position in the hopes that the enemy dies.
Well, with that, actually, I had another question. On the assassin, the level 6 ability, Slayer of the Elect, it says basically spend reaction, get advantage on your next attack, as well as double the damage you would deal. So, like, basically, it's like first round, okay, I'm going to burn that, gain advantage, attack the guy, hit. I went before he did, so it's also a crit. So do I roll the dice, double it for the crit, and then double that again for Slayer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Gotta find a way to go before the big bad guys.
Yeah, gotta find a way to go before the boss that always acts first.
Wait, hold on. Assassinate makes no sense. Oh, wait, no, never mind. Sorry. I misread it. Never mind.
Oh. I'm curious what you misread.
Like I thought it was crits whenever you were before them, but it's only advantage before their turn. But crits if they're
it's
surprised.
crits if they're surprised. Yeah.
Isn't it just like the exact same as the Assassin Rogue Assassinate?
Yeah, it's literally the Assassin Rogue level 3 feature.
Isn't surprised not a condition?
No, surprised is a condition. Surprised is not a round. There's no surprise round. There is a round in combat where some number of creatures are surprised.
Yep, that's what it is. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, surprised is an actual. So surprise does not show up in the conditions list. So if you go to the list of conditions in the PHP, there's no surprise to there.
Right.
But it's clearly a fucking condition.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Anyway, so Matt, you seem pretty jazzed with Assassin.
Yeah, I think run in, stab, try not to get murdered immediately after that.
Right. All right. So we got Matt on Assassin, Mike on Sorcerer. Anyone else land on a class solidly? No.
Awesome.
Everyone deprived.
Bunga bunga.
I'm leaning most toward Cleric right now.
Okay.
Okay. If you take Cleric, then also go Mercenary.
I'll put my foot down then. I'm going to be a Cleric.
Okay.
Be a Mercenary.
All right. Bayless.
You muted.
Thank you. That notification came up just as I started to talk. I like the Fencer Warrior as you were describing him.
Yeah.
Largely just because it kind of echoes how I actually played in Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just light armor, heavy weapon.
Yeah. Because it's not tanky, like you said, Nathan. Because going Brute Warrior is tanky. Going like Fencer Warrior is more like do a big hit, but you're still subjective to like taking a big hit.
Right.
But I kind of like that give and play of like that kid and play of like, I can do a big hit if I can survive to get in there long enough to do that. Like I kind of like that.
Right.
I kind of like that.
So I have a question.
Plus axe.
So the concern with big axe. Sorry, Jordan. I'll get to you.
Sorry, Jordan.
The concern with big axe, but Fencer Warrior is that all the big axes, the great axes, they're gonna have a pretty high strength requirement. Great axe requires 14 strength, and it has the highest damage expression of any axe.
Also, are any of them even finesse?
No. Great axes are not finesse. So yeah, you would need like curved swords or curved great swords to get finesse. Are there any other finesse? Katana. There's a whole katana group.
Thrusting swords.
Are thrusting swords finesse too?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, there's a few categories, but great axe is not one of them. Any finesse spears? Don't look it.
I guess I just won't use a fucking axe for once.
What a fucking nightmare.
I know. I'll just use a sword like some kind of pleb.
Just don't go Painting Guardian Curved Sword, because that requires 20 fucking strength for some reason. It's got to be a typo. Like, literally nothing else in that category is higher than a 12. Okay.
I'll sword and board it.
All right. So you're thinking Warrior, but like Dex Warrior.
Yeah.
All right. That should give
maybe
you some
leaning towards like curved swords, like you said. That sounds cool.
Yeah. That should give you some pretty good AC.
Mm-hmm.
With a bunch of decks. All right, so we've got Warrior. Jordan, what were you?
Mercenary.
Mercenary. cleric, sorcerer, assassin. So cleric, wizard, rogue, ranger, barbarian, I guess. So there's no fighter, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If someone picked knight and it was just fighter, we have like the archetypal party. But it's fine. It's fine.
I looked at knight, but it was fighter, and I was just like, I played one of those. I don't want to play another one again. Like I played one.
Yeah, knight's just fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. Oh god, the level 3 feature's ass.
It's so ass.
It's so ass. Okay, so you guys have your classes picked. It kind of sounds like you have your origins picked too. Jordan, you had a question.
Equipment.
Yes.
Is finding new equipment in the world going to be the main way that we replace our equipment, or is there going to be places we can purchase?
In the vein of Dark Souls, there will be places that you can purchase equipment. It's not going to be any of the. So generally, it's not any of the Havel's armor kinds of things. You're not going to find anything named after anyone at a shop. But assassin's armor or chainmail or things like that you should be able to find at a shop. What the actual world fucking looks like, I don't know yet.
Does the book, like the TTRPG, does that account for the ability of like killing a boss and then getting its weapon or getting its spell or whatever?
In an obtuse kind of way, yes.
Mm.
It does kind of suggest that kind of thing.
Mm.
I'm also versed enough in Dark Souls that I can pretty easily put together like, oh, this guy drops this thing. He didn't use it against you, but he drops it anyway because why not?
Had it in his back pocket,
Yeah.
waiting for a rainy day.
I do want to point out also that there are items that are souls. Trying to find the page. Hey, I found it. It's page 217. So you can find items that, when used, you gain souls. And you can decide as a group which one of you gets to use that item.
Oh, man.
Do you give it to the guy who spent all his souls buying shit so he can level up and not be behind you guys? Or do you give it to the guy who stands to get more powerful by leveling up just a little bit more ahead of everyone else?
But unlike souls, those items don't go away when you die or
Correct.
Don't pick up your blood stain. They stay with you because they're
Yep.
items, right?
Yup.
Soul
Alright.
of a Great Champion is enough to go from level 1 to level 9.
Yeah, you're probably not going to get that before you're level 9. I'm just going to let you know that right now.
Okay, it's enough to go from level 19 to level 20.
Huh.
He did say probably, so there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance? Yeah. Yeah. So that's so you guys have vague ideas for characters, I'm assuming. You're kind of getting a sense of who your person is. You guys can roll on tables. I'm not used to being able to say you guys. Like this group is more of a sausage fest than usual. We actually have a decent gender spread in our play group. But it's just like you guys. But yeah, you can just sort of figure out who your character is, and then over the next week, I will sort of figure out like how the game starts and communicate that to you in whatever capacity I decide is appropriate, I'll let you know what your characters would know at the beginning, so that you can decide, who you may have been before, how you got to where you are, so on and so forth. And then we, if necessary, one of the things that I like to do is I like to do like a session 0.5, which is just like an hour-long call with each player where I just talk you through building your character and who the fuck they are and how they fit into the group. Don't know if that's actually necessary, considering how much of your character is just in the ether, having been lost by the fog of undeath. So I don't know if that's actually necessary for this game. This might be the first game where that's just utterly unnecessary. But I'll let you know over the course of the next week, and then we can just reconvene next week and start fucking playing this game. Woo. Cool.
Yeah.
Fucking beans. Everyone's committed to their characters?
Yeah.
Or your classes, at least?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Mike might be waffling.
Definitely thinking of switching to Sorcerer.
Okay. All right, so that's gonna be it for today. I'm debating saying that we're gonna put this on YouTube. I guess I'll put this on YouTube. At the very least, at the very least, I will put it in an unlisted playlist that I will share on our Discord server. So, I mean, if you're watching this, then I guess you know to do that. Do that. Join the Discord. Go check that out. And if you happen to be watching this on YouTube somehow, check us out on Twitch. We're live every Saturday at 10 a.m. EST with Spelljammer. Every Sunday at noon EST with why does this? Oh, it says Trolls for Hire randomly. I got worried. I saw Sunday and Trolls for Hire on the same line. Every Sunday at noon with Fall of Kings, which is our Call of Cthulhu game. And then every Thursday with Dark Souls, the RPG, at 7 p.m. EST. Just like you found this game right here, right now, right here, right now, right here, right now. Anyway, thank you. I was so afraid no one would get it.
I got it.
If we have an Instagram where you can find adorable fluffy doggo pictures, and then a Discord where we all hang out and we all talk, and I'll probably make a discussion channel for this game and like an RP channel or some shit. I don't know. I'll make channels for this game. I haven't done that yet. That's it for me. That's it for us. That's it for Dark Souls. We're gonna go ahead and raid.
We died again. Oh, no.
We died again? All right. We're going to go ahead and raid Waffles Maple Syrup. They're playing Pathfinder right now, which is a game that we also play sometimes. You can check us out on the 4th and the 11th of February at 4 p.m. We're going to be playing the second half of our one-shots, because they're definitely one-shots. I have to hit start raid so that the timer can tick down, and I forgot to do that until just now. So I'm waiting for the timer to tick down, and I'm just going to keep talking until the timer ticks down to 0, and it's at 2 seconds right now. And now it's at 0. So that's it for us. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.